You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
Hey, Mike Malarkey coming up today on the show at 11 o'clock, just part of the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network lineup. Today we'll have a little Fleet and Footy after our show, and then Young and Norvell to finish up Friday here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Remember those days, Austen Lane?
I just saw a C.J. Mosley appearance, man. Haven't seen that dude in forever. We actually played together a little bit in Detroit as well, man. He's one of the good ones there, C.J. Mosley.
The first piece of video, by the way, was Paul Posluszny with that long hair.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of forgot about that.
Yep.
So, anyway, hey, the idea today with Coach Mularkey coming on, kind enough to join us, is to kind of take us inside the interview room. Like we're talking 10 interviews by the end of tomorrow that we know of. I mean, I should say that we know of. I think that's it because they've been pretty transparent. But what does go on? What questions are asked? Like, what's it like? Are you interviewing them? Are they interviewing you? What's the first round versus the second round? I think Coach told me that he had 10 interviews requested in his career from teams. I think he turned down a few of them. So why would you turn them down, right? So anyway, get the mindset of the coach, since we really don't have that part, in this process as what is going on. So that's at 11 o'clock today here on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Brent Martineau Austen Lane, Jason Hamby, Stadium Pulse in the books. College football talk. I was like, I'm seeing Hamby tweet over the last hour. By the way, that will replay today at 3 o'clock too. At least it should. I think I put that in. I was in the national championship game, but that big news that I was tweeting and saying, Hamby, you're out of your mind a couple of times on the show today. And he wasn't saying actually his opinion. He said college football programs, the NIL, basically the Department of Education has come down and ruled and basically said, hey, Title IX is a factor here in the money you want to distribute. So like that's that $20 million fund, right? That's that $20 million that they've allowed, if I understand it correctly. I didn't really deep dive over the last day or two on it, but I saw it. I was like, hey, that's pretty significant. How much do you have to share? Is it equal?
It's half.
It is fully half. So $10 million has to go to women's sports.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to put a hamper on things.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And you know what? I'm not sure I'm fully against it. I mean, somebody's going to put some kind of regulations in place. And I know the $20 million was a regulation of sorts, but there's a part of me right now that says, hey, you know what? College football does not have to run universities. I know it makes the most money. I know it's a big thing. I know it's always been a helper to admissions and everything else, but it does not have to be the entity that runs a university. And I'm a sports guy. I'm not an education guy. But it is still an institution of education, and I think we've lost our way a little bit on college football, running the roost from the head coach to some of the players.
No, without a doubt.
And everything else.
Yeah. Okay, so then it goes to women's athletics, but then, I mean, is that every sport in terms of women's athletics?
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Yes, every sport.
Every sport. Okay.
Well,
because
it doesn't have
saying.
to be. You can. Yeah, it doesn't have to be just like women's basketball that you put all that money in.
No, it has to be evenly distributed through.
Yeah.
It's they wouldn't even necessarily like. The school would be able to use once the 10.5, say it's 10.25 million, so 10 million. Then the school can allot based off of that 10 million, as long as everybody's getting paid, right, according to their share.
Yeah, as long as females and males are getting paid.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the men's tennis player at Florida is going to get paid. The Georgia equestrian. And that's the argument. It's not about men and women. It's just about like
equal.
Every sport other than football and basketball is a loser money-wise.
Okay, this was my concern, because if you just focused on women's athletics, like for instance, like Hilly Van Lilith is making like $500,000 a year at TCU just in NIL alone.
Yeah.
So you're gonna give her some of the pot, but then what about like the male cross country team?
He's making money too.
But then they're all making money now. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was my biggest concern. Okay, I get like equal pay for everybody, but then make sure you include some of the sports that aren't getting a lot of love as well.
Well, here's what this is going to do, in my opinion. This is going to get us faster to it's football and everybody else. Because right now what's going on, the amateur sports, the true amateur sports, the way college was built to be, which was everything was supposed to be amateur, but the Olympic sports, so to speak, right, that aren't revenue drivers. that they are either going away, which is a main concern right now around the NCAA, if in this current structure, or they are just going to go back to the old model in a sense, and football's going to go into its own world. Is really where this is headed, right? I mean, I think this gets us closer. Again, I have not done a deep dive here, but I think this gets us closer to where a lot of people inside the world of college athletics thinks we're going, and that is that 40, 50, 60 team league that is college football that goes off on its own and does its own thing. And then now the question remains, will there be enough money to go around and all this other stuff for the old model of college sports to be the way it is, where you can take that pay element out, at least by the crazy amounts of money we're talking about, and maybe still under a new model, you do get paid, but it's a very small stipend that you get paid if you're cross country or something else based on the revenue that a sport brings in. Because you're right, a lot of those sports don't bring in revenue, but a lot of those sports also bring in admissions, right? I mean, I can tell you for a fact. I mean, I know it. I played Division II, and the Division II model is totally different than the Division I model. I mean, I got a kid at Division II right now. They got like 7 scholarships. They had 48 guys. You know why they have 48 guys? Because part of the model is they want admissions, and they want those guys paying tuition. So, it doesn't drive it per se at the gate and ticket window, but it does drive it still at the admission window. Sports does, even in the ones that aren't making a ton of money. So not an expert on that. It's a muddy situation, but I think it gets us closer, these kind of rulings, to ASEC, Big Ten, Power 4 conferences. We're going out on our own. And I think that's where we're going to land. And I think there's still a lot of momentum for that.
Even if it doesn't go that way, I think the first impact that'll have, it'll send us back a couple of years as far as the landscape of college football and the parity. Like everybody enjoyed the parity and equal playing field because the NIL's kind of leveled that out. Well, you're going to get less of that because if everybody's got the same allotment for this, then you're going to have to rely more on individual boosters, right, and your fan base to generate money so that can replace the money that should go to the football players, right? Speaking specifically for football, right? So if we're relying more on the fan base and more on boosters, well, who's got the best? Well, it's the same teams that have always had the best, and those teams will be at an advantage for how much they can play their players, aka how much the caliber of player they can get in going forward. So we might take a few steps back as far as some of those other lower tier schools being able to pay and getting on that same field as the Blue Bloods or powerhouses, if you will. Yeah,
man. I feel like when you try to course correct things and make things even, that's when people find loopholes and it could be even worse. And I don't have the foresight right now to say what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 years, but one would assume that, okay, the goal right now...
Neither do they.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Shoot.
But the goal is to obviously make it an even playing field, but in doing so, I feel like it's something will come up, and then it'll be even worse, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't really think their goal is to make it an even playing field. I mean, I think the SEC screams that. I mean, the SEC and Sankey and everybody else, if they've tried to make an even playing field, they don't. And they think they're the better than everybody else,
yeah.
And they want to be better than everybody else. But their goal to me is not to be an even playing field. Their goal is to be dominant.
Sure, but good for swimmers and track athletes and everybody else getting paid. I'm all for that. I mean, being an athlete's a full-time job, so I'm not mad at that. I'm just worried about what's going to become of it now because once again, there's a loophole. There's a way around things.
One last thing on that, but obviously you have to wrap it with this is not final because with the new administration coming in. Next week, obviously, with Trump, we'll have a new Department of Education. Politics plays a big role in this, whether you like that or not. Austin, ironically enough, his Department of Education, who have a big part in this, is Linda McMahon, Vince's wife. So, WWE. So, there's a lot still to unfold with that.
Yeah, well, and by the way, I just want to say this one thing because I do disagree with you on this. Like the parity part of this, where if I understand everything correctly, yeah, you can spend $20 million, but like if UNF had a football program right now, they weren't spending $20 million. So you already don't have the parity anyway, even under the current structure. Like, you don't have to spend the $20 million. It's like baseball right now. You can go to 34 scholarships, but not every school is going to go to 34 scholarships. You have the ability to go to 34 scholarships. So some people are going to say, hey, we're putting money in baseball, like down here at Florida State, Georgia Tech, places like that. And then Notre Dame and Michigan, I was like, well, we ain't spending 34 scholarships to play in the snow, right? I mean, we don't care about being good in that sport. We're going to go be good in this sport. And it's going on right now anyway. That's what I've been told about, like, women's soccer. There's a huge have and have not. This is just an example. Florida State, they have said, hey, we want to be really good in women's soccer. We're going to appropriate some funds, NIL, other things toward that program more than most schools around the country are doing it. And guess what? They're pretty damn good. They're getting all the good players because of that. So I just don't think we're going to have an even playing field. What I also wonder is, just because something looks like it won't be parity driven, do we know that's correct? Because this year in college football is a great example of it. Nobody in their right mind thought we'd have this much parity in college football, not based on the new structure. We thought it would be, over the last couple of years, instantaneous in terms of haves and have-nots. And it really hasn't worked out that way. We got one of the most parity-filled years in college football we've ever had, like in the history of the game. And we thought transfer portal and all this other stuff would say, oh, the Alabamas, LSU's. No, it hadn't been it. Like, that was not it this year. You had you had Army and Navy in the top 20,
for a short-lived period. Yeah.
Okay, but you had those teams. Like, was it just a bad, what we don't know is was it just a bad year of college football, which I kind of claim. I just think cyclically, the quality of the game wasn't great. But I don't know if that's just a short-lived thing because it was 1 year, or was it because transfer portal, it's better to be older. When you just mix guys coming in off teams, it's hard to get chemistry. You're not as good. Those things still matter in team sports. Like, we really just don't know where those land. Sure, follow the money usually is a good way to look at it. But this year did not follow the money necessarily. And as long, I still feel like if we keep that part of it, they keep the unknown. We keep Evansville having a chance to go in baseball last spring to the College World Series. Evansville, Indiana, like, they almost knocked off Clemson or somebody else, like, in the Super Regional. I mean, that doesn't make sense, but that's what we like about sports. Mm-hmm. Like, we still want to keep that piece as much as we can. And I mean, that's what we'll get this week in the NFL, right? I mean, yeah, Detroit probably is going to win, but what if Washington does? We like that story in sports, and it can happen. It can happen. So I do think we don't want to eliminate the idea of that happening. That's why one of the great sports events we have is the NCAA tournament. Like, don't forget that model. That's one of the great sports events we have. That's why I like the college football playoff this year. I don't care if there were blowouts in the first round. We had the opportunity to get SMU, Boise State, schools like that, a chance to go in the Final Four or upset people or win a championship and be a darling. And you got to at least have the opportunity.
And they showed out.
Well, and so did the first-round NFL teams. Yeah, they really showed out, too. Yeah. And they get paid to be parity-based. That whole league's driven to be parity-based, and they got their ass whooped in the whole first round.
Okay, but on any given Sunday, I feel like a team, like, I think it's different than college football.
Well, it wasn't this year, though. It was a 19-point difference in the first round of the playoffs, and in the NFL, it was a 17-point difference in the first round of the college football playoffs.
Okay.
It was worse in the NFL.
So are we for sure that Kansas City and Detroit's going to go?
No, but that's to this point you don't.
Okay.
You didn't know last week. You get deeper into it, and you don't know who's going to go.
I had a pretty good idea it was going to be Notre Dame and Oregon or Ohio State. Like, I think a lot of people did. Like,
I don't think anybody had an idea if Penn State or Ohio State, Notre Dame was going to win.
Oh, I think Notre Dame was a favorite. I mean, what were the odds? Wasn't Notre Dame second
like
to go? Game. But I'm saying, like, in terms of winning the whole thing, wasn't Notre Dame second?
I don't even
in terms of the college football odds?
I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you get more of it in college, but the bottom line is once you get in the tournament, I mean, I don't think the 15 seeds ever win in the national title ever. I don't feel good about it, but we love the idea that
they can go to the Final Four, though.
Very few times.
They can.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I mean,
my point is we're going to need seed can go.
We're going to need SMU. We're going to need Boise State. We're going to need a team like Army if they ever get back up to like the top, whatever. We're going to need one of those guys to go to like the Final Four of college football.
And I think in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I don't know, like you, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I do think over the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we stay on this 12-team model, or who knows, even if they expand to 16, I think we will get one of those.
I don't think so.
I think we will get a team that will go into that Final Four championship game. And I think we were really close to it this year. Like, we weren't that far off from it potentially happening. Like, I know Boise State was an underdog, but we know Penn State also chokes, right?
Sure.
Like, and Boise State had a path there if they had played better. I mean, I honestly think SMU played the best out of all those teams. They could match up with whoever they were playing this year. The SMU quarterback just played really poor in that game. Like, I actually think they could have beaten Penn State in that opening if he had played a good football game. He just didn't.
But then it's going to beg the question, too, of who even gets into the tournament, right? Like, obviously, with college basketball, it's 64 teams. So you're going to have a lot of the mid-majors that can still get in if they win their conference tournament. That doesn't work in college football. So, like, and the way that this year went, like, who's to say next year? Maybe, I don't know, give me a mid-major. Like, I don't know. Like, well, we'll say Boise State again. Like, maybe Boise State or Fresno State or whatever. Like, maybe they're on the cusp, but maybe it's like, okay, are we going to put them in, or are we going to put maybe like a 3-loss SEC team in? I think the argument right now is going to say, oh, put the SEC team in.
Well,
or like a Big Ten team.
The Blue Bloods. And I think college football wants to say that. But I would tell you this. I think even if a South Carolina got in this year, they would, in college football speak, be considered like that's the darling. Like, they can still be the darling, right? South Carolina's not good in football. They never are.
No, Arizona State was the darling this year.
And Arizona State was. You're right. That's right.
Arizona State was the darling.
Even though they were in the Power Four. Yeah.
Correct. But, like, they didn't really I mean, I get like they felt like an underdog, but they didn't feel like a Cinderella story per se. Like, they won the pack, whatever it is now. Like, they earned their right to be there. They had the record to back it up. Good coach and everything. But, like, I never got the sense like they were Cinderella and the clock struck zero. Like, they were in the game, but I just don't think like a smaller Cinderella story is going to ever make a splash in the college football tournament. But I might be. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's entertaining.
I think it's got levels, right? I grew up in Rhode Island, so Providence College in Rhode Island were in the tournament as a kid quite a bit. Providence College made a run to the Final Four in 1987 with Rick Pitino and Billy Donovan. It was like, that was Cinderella. But that wasn't like JU or UNF going to the tournament these days. Like, that's a different, like, Providence College has a good basketball history. They can compete with the big dogs. They play in the Big East. But still, them making it to the Elite, that was the Arizona State kind of example, right? Like, you play with those guys. You can do it. Back in the 90s, Arizona State was halfway decent. But it's been such a long time. Like, that story still exists. Like, can that story still exist? It doesn't have to be a name like you hardly know. It doesn't have to be Oral Roberts all the time that goes. It's just that, can it be a 9 seed, right? Can it be? I think the number matters. I think if Arizona State actually had been a 12 seed and didn't win their thing, let's just say they got in and they were the ones that went, even though they're in the Power Four, that still qualifies for me not being Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State,
qualifies,
right?
But Arizona State as a 12 would have never won a national championship.
They say that again?
Like, yes, I'm saying it still qualifies 100%. Arizona State would, because they're not one of the powerhouse teams. But a 12-seeded Arizona State, with the season they had, would have never won a national championship. Momentum and talent, or momentum and preparation is so different in basketball than it is in football. When you play almost back-to-back nights in the tournament, you're going to get a lot more upsets. They're a lot more prevalent. And it's barely ever happened in college basketball. And it has a couple of times, but it's barely happened. When you have a week to prepare every time and the talent really has a chance to take a hard look. How much do you prepare for a March Madness game when you played 2 nights before?
No, you literally have football, like 24 hours.
In college football, you got a full 6 days. Preparation, talent exposes that a little bit more, in my opinion.
And the fact with college basketball is like, listen, maybe you're a 3-point shooting team,
you just get hot.
And maybe you just run cold the game. Maybe you're like, you just get beat by a mid-major. Maybe you get beat by a 15. Like, that happens. That's basketball. You go hot, you go cold. In football, usually, and it's not always the case, right? There's plenty of examples where it's not the case, but usually the more talented team, the more team who can dominate the trenches, who's well coached, will probably win that game. Now, yes, there's anomalies, but like usually that's what happens. And to take a Cinderella and say, okay, you got to win 3 games or 2 games to go to the championship, it's like, man, the odds of doing that are very slim, I feel like.
Yeah, listen, I think the odds are slim, but I think that's what we still like, the opportunity to have those slim odds. And once in a while, you get George Mason. And I'm telling you, it's a very once in a while you get George Mason.
Yeah.
But we remember George Mason. Like, that's the thing. We would remember. Would we remember Arizona State that way this year if they were in the championship game today? I'm not sure. We would probably remember Boise State. We still remember Boise State being Oklahoma in a bowl game that, quite frankly, didn't matter. Right? So will we get that? We'll see. I just hope we have the opportunity to get that. I think that's important in the. I think it's good in the sport. I don't know if college football fans actually want that because there's such an hierarchy to it, and such as royalty to like we're so much better than you, and no, there is. I mean, that's just a reality. But so we're going to decide over the next few years. I think, are we still going into that NCAA tournament model? Are we going to have that, or are we going to the NFL model? To your point this weekend, right? Because Washington can beat Detroit, even though they're a 10-point dog. Like, we think there's a realistic chance they can because of that. So I think, which way are we going? Now, my guess is they're going to go the NFL model. And you know why? TV games. Because now all of a sudden, if you have every game is a good game that you think anybody can win, that increases the odds of a TV audience tuning in, enjoying it, all that stuff, right? Week in, week out. So I think TV plays a huge role in this because sooner or later, college football can be like the TV model of the NFL, where you're playing on all different nights and you got all these special games and everything else. We are not signing up to watch Charleston Southern play Florida at 7 o'clock, right, on ESPN on a Friday night. Like, we're just not. Or not in droves. Gator fans are, but not in droves. So, pretty wild. What the hell did we start with all that today? I mean, that's too deep. It's too deep for a Friday.
Pretty heavy.
I mean, bring the envelope game out going like right away.
Anemic in the chats right now.
Jack Del Rio's going to coach in Paris.
There we go.
This is how I'm lighting it up.
There we go.
By the way, I mean, Jack, I actually thought it's so funny that you shared this with us this morning, and then I saw it too. But I was just thinking of Jack. I think yesterday because of the Monken stuff, and I was like, "Hey, can we get Jack on the show?" I don't know. Should we get Jack on the show? It's been a weird few years for Jack.
Yeah.
Like, from the political stuff to obviously had a DUI up there in Minnesota. That got him out of the Minnesota job. Oh, Wisconsin. I'm sorry. He was with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And now he's going to
pretty standard in Wisconsin, but
move out of the country. Based on his political beliefs, I didn't think with Trump in office that's where he would be going, out of the country.
For sure, man. For sure.
I'm just thinking of it.
Yeah. You had to take it. You had to take it. Yeah.
But he's had just it's been a weird dance with Del Rio since he left Jacksonville. Really, since he left the Raiders. Because he was good. Yeah. Listen, the Raiders made a mistake, probably.
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of sense at the time, Oakland.
Did a good job.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he's not that different than Malarkey's situation in Tennessee, what happened to him in Las Vegas.
Sure.
Where he actually was doing well, and they were like, well, we can do better or something. They were it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And look what seriously they've done. Now, that was for Gruden, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then they got themselves into a mess. Now, would they have, I don't know. I mean, listen, Del Rio, we had on the show years ago. I haven't talked to Del Rio in a while now, but he was always kind enough to come on the show a couple of different times. And it's just been a weird, I would say, 4, 5, 6 years for Jack. And I didn't even know that league existed over there.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So he's going to coach in Paris.
The ELF.
Parity.
European Football League.
Oh, is that what it's going? Yeah. Is it new?
No, wait. Not European League of Football?
Is that a new league or has it been around?
I have no idea.
I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
There's always so much sports.
I'll tell you what, though, if you're like, listen, if you're getting out of it, you still want to stay in it, go coach in Paris for a little bit. It doesn't seem too bad.
Not a bad call. I mean, let me look it up here. European League of Football. Blockbuster move. Paris Musketeers sign NFL head coach Jack Del Rio. I'm just trying to see like some of the teams here. Like, are we talking like all Europe or is this more of just like a French thing?
I think it's under a European like classification. It can't just be in France. I highly doubt. But anyway, Jack Del Rio there.
Here we got the Berlin. One of my friends I went to high school with played in this league.
Really?
He played in Cologne, the Cologne Centurions. Yeah, so you got the Berlin Thunder, the Cologne Centurions. Not going to pronounce that one, but they're the Enthroners. Frankfurt Galaxy, Hamburg Sea Devils, Helvetic Mercenaries, Munich Ravens, Wroclaw Panthers, sounds like Harry Potter. Paris Musketeers, Prague Lions, Raiders Tyrol, sounds like a Game of Thrones character. Rain Fire, Stuttgart Surge, Sounds like a business salesman. Vienna Vikings, Madrid Bravos, and the Nordic Storm. Don't even say where you're from. Just say you're Nordic.
There you go.
They're going to have some big-time competition.
But, so here's the thing. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It's the Dolphins. They announced it?
Yeah,
I didn't even see it. So here's the cool thing about this league. You can only have, I want to say, 2 or 3 Americans on the field at a time. So if you're an American, you got to take, at least when my friend played, you got to take white tape and put a giant A on your helmet. So then they can identify that you're an American.
You really do?
For real. Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Is Jack Del Rio the second best coach in Jags history behind Coughlin?
Yep.
Hands down?
Who else is
for
there?
8 years.
Who else is there?
Doug would be 2.
Doug would be 3?
No, like if you didn't think it was Del Rio, then it would be Doug.
Well,
It's either Doug or Del Rio.
Yeah.
I guess it has to be.
One guy lasted 3, one lasted 8.
Let's not forget the team that we cover here, Brent. There's a lot of options.
No, they're not. I mean, Marone went to the AFC Championship game. It's a deep run, but it's very short-lived.
It's going to be Jack Del Rio at number 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I wonder where he ranks in the Raiders' history. And I don't have it in front of me. I'm just saying, I mean, obviously they have history. I mean, from Natty and everybody else. But, I mean, even Gruden, I think, probably had some success and a better record is what I'm wondering before he got himself out of the league. So, yes, Coach Rip, I know Tom Coughlin is number 1. There you go. He's going to give us all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And then everybody else.
Somebody just asked us, the Super Bowl always on broadcast channels? Yes, it has. When will we get to the point where it's on Netflix or something else? It's coming soon.
It's all. I think as of this morning, I don't know if that, but we had it on Action News Jax this morning that it's also going to be shown on Tubi.
It is. You're for the first time, I think.
For the first time.
So yeah, you wonder if it will be complementary to the broadcast channels, the traditional ones, the Super Bowl. But
Tubi? What is Tubi?
I don't know.
Well, it's free for the first time. It's been shown before, but you had to have a special subscription.
Yeah.
It's
So
complimentary this time.
Okay, so it's through. So you watch it on Tubi, but it's on like whatever.
It's still on Fox.
It's on Fox.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still feel like I don't know. I would not. I don't know what it looks like in 5 years. I don't know if Netflix and Amazon and all those just pay whatever money to make it happen.
It's gonna be crazy.
I could see it as a partnership, right? Where like Fox and Amazon or something like that go in together. Now they all have their streaming channels, but they might still collaborate to that degree where you get on one of those big ones and a broadcast channel and kind of split it. But keep in mind, I mean,
But do you think they want to split it though?
no, they don't want to split it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if you get. Listen, I think the NFL holds the cards here.
True.
Now, the networks own the checkbook, so the checkbook carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Right.
Live on Amazon Prime, brought to you by Netflix, a DraftKings exclusive. It's the Super Bowl.
Z. Fortner mentioned the night practices of Jack Del Rio.
Those are good times.
You guys did not like those.
I mean, yeah, man. Nothing like practicing till like 9:30 at night and then being absolutely wired and then can't fall asleep in your well, it was a hotel bed, so I wasn't mad about that. But yeah, wasn't ideal.
Did you give him crap about that when we had him on the show? I can't remember.
I think I might have brought it up a little bit. I think he said that was a bad call if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Maybe he was planning for us playing a lot of primetime games. maybe I mean, heck, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs teams like that, like they're all primetime.
Hey, let's take a break, and we'll come back with Brian Flores. He interviews today. We talked Kellen Moore yesterday. Joe Brady interviews tomorrow, and then they're done in the first round. As far as we know, what about Brian Flores? I don't think we've talked about him a lot. Why is he such a candidate? Is it kind of soon that he's already a candidate based on things that have happened with him in the NFL, based on what happened in Miami, quite frankly? Although, do keep in mind, the record was good at Miami. Like, what he did at Miami and the wins and losses looked like it was trending. And he's a disciple of Bill Belichick. And there have not been many of those that are good. So, I mean, I don't know if you count Vrabel as a Belichick disciple. I don't think he's necessarily on the tree, but he played for him. So, I mean, he's one. But outside of that, we know the tree hasn't been great. And a lot of people have tried. But Flores was a guy that's working a little bit. Do you know who he is? Does anything about Brian Flores excite you as the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, possibly? We'll talk about it when we come back. Brent Austen Show here in the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. We got the envelope game going. We've already got submissions. sports@actionnewsjax.com is the place to go. Just, again, name, give us your handle on YouTube and Twitter if you play that game, which I'm assuming you do if you're listening to our show, and then the name of the coach. Simple as that. envelope game. You got to get it in the next couple of days. And the Dolphins are going to Madrid. The Colts are going to Germany. We'll be right back. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade. Happy New Year for the UNF Ospreys, and basketball season is in the teeth of conference play right now. A slow start for the men's team out of the gates with 3 straight losses, but then they broke through in the win column with a win over Bellarmine. The offense scored 98 points in that one. A long way to go, including a stretch the next few weeks with a chance to go on a winning streak. 8 home games in the next 3 weeks for the men's and women's basketball team combined. So check out UNFOspreys.com for the latest in news, schedules, results, and tickets. UNF Arena is a great place to watch a game, so go check them out. And while the hoop teams are battling some snow while on the road, the spring sports season has already arrived with the men's tennis program notching its first win under new coach John Collins. Swoop with the Ospreys in the winter and the spring, inside and outside. Check out UNFOspreys.com for all things Ospreys. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, save $1,000 or more when you bundle a Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
New to town or always been in town, everyone is always looking for a good pizza place. Our place is Donato's Pizza. We love it and still do love it. When I tell my family I'm coming to Donato's, they say, wait a minute, you gotta order some for us. So this is not all for me. Let me tell you what the Martineaus get when we put an order in. Well, pepperoni pizza, we usually get more than one of these. And then there's the works, a little bit of everything. And then this is the pizza that can be polarizing for some out there. I don't know why. Hawaiian pizza. Some love it, some don't. At Donato's, you're going to love it, especially with that cinnamon sprinkled on top. Try the pizza my family likes or try your favorite. Right now, you can use the code Brent20 and get 20% off your order. Every viewer and listener is important to us, and at Donato's Pizza, every piece is important. From fresh ingredients to the dedicated team members and you, the valued customer. Donato's Pizza, where every piece comes together for a winning combination. Jack's Beach and Mandarin locations. Donato's Pizza, every piece is important.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Todd Monken interviewed last night with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That one's in the books. That was number 7 for the Jags. Kellen Moore, Brian Flores today, Joe Brady tomorrow, according to, reports, and I feel like I've confirmed them too. But the Jags will be done with the first round. Monken is also interviewing with Chicago today, according to reports.
Okay.
The interviews, it's funny how many people are asking me, it's like, why is everybody reporting on what the interviews are? And I guess it feels to everybody like it's such a new thing. It is newer with the Jags. Like, the Jags haven't done it. Quite frankly, I've encouraged them to do it. Not that they listen to me. I'm just saying we've been saying for a couple of years now, you need more transparency down there. Like, that will help. Bring fans along for the ride. They're doing it. I think it's been a good thing for them. Like, it's not a negative for them to share something that Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are going to report on anyway. And I think teams have found that out. It's okay. Like, you're not giving anything away by saying this. Everybody knows who people are interviewing inside coaching circles and eventually on NFL Network and ESPN and other places. So why don't we just say it? That's an okay thing. I don't think there's been a negative yet to it. But this started about a decade ago with Denver was very transparent, and I think other people have now caught on. You can boost your social media impressions, by the way, as well, so that's never a bad thing from a branding standpoint. And but a lot of people have asked me that. It's like, why? Now, I think other people are seeing everybody else, like Chicago and New York are trying to set a record for how many people they interview. Yeah. So I think that's part of it, too. So it's every day, an hour, there's like, they interviewed this guy, they interviewed this guy, they interviewed this guy.
My biggest hope for like the social media impressions and everything is that coaches treat it like National Signing Day and like they hold like press conferences on ESPN.
Man, that would be something.
Can you imagine having Ben Johnson and he's got, the Jaguars hat, the Bears hat, and the Raiders hat here? He's like, after a lot of deliberation, I've talked to my family and everything. I'm gonna, he's and then what's this under the table? Here's a Lions cap. We're going back to Detroit for another year, everybody. Just wasting everybody's time. Do it.
Great.
Do it. Come on.
That would actually be great.
Like, do you think I really care about a 4-star recruit in the middle of New Jersey? Who cares? I don't know you. Are you going to Wisconsin? No. Then have fun going to Alabama or whatever. But I do care about where NFL head coaches are going to be, where they're going to go. So let's do it, Brent.
That is a great idea.
They should do it, honestly.
Somebody do it.
Somebody with some.
Would that look bad? I guess that would look bad.
Dion would do it.
Deanna, I think Cliff Kingsbury would do it too. How'd it look bad?
Well, because is it not professional to the team that you're spurning, right?
To be fair, I feel like LeBron got a lot of hate when he had the decision.
Yeah, true.
Even though the money did go to the boys and girls clubs and everything, like nobody cared about that. Oh, kids are getting, underprivileged kids getting some kickback. Who cares? Hey, LeBron, you're wasting our time.
That would be so good, though. Can you imagine the theater for that?
Oh, my God.
Like, if Ben Johnson, seriously.
Well, it's got to be Ben Johnson.
Like, right now, Ben Johnson does it in a week. Mm-hmm. And he's got those hats all in front.
Decision.
Because everybody knows that he's interviewed with those 3 teams. Patriots are off the board. Yeah. And then the wild part of it, and I'm not advocating for this, but the wild part of it is.
Under the table?
No, the underneath
Lions?
is the Lions hat.
Lions, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you said it already.
Yeah, under the table. Here comes the Lions hat.
That would be classic.
Be awesome. And then teams are scrambling. Oh, we got to get somebody else. Let's get another interview set up real quick.
Oh, man.
Please do. Why not?
What would that do? Like, the decision was a bad thing. I think the decision stuff was so blown out of proportion. I thought that was today's social media world. It was on the forefront of some of that and everything else. I think it actually might have been a shade before some of it, but I think it was as that was starting to come out. I still think, I always say this about LeBron. If that was the worst thing LeBron ever did, man, that guy's done pretty well, right, as a big-time athlete. But the bottom line is it did incredible numbers from the Boys and Girls Club. We remember it. So imagine if a coach did, like Ben Johnson doing this, and especially if he was good. See, that's the thing. Like, It'd be one thing if he did something like that, and then he like went 1-15.
Oh yeah. There's some pressure to perform then after that whole thing, but
That'd
why
be
not,
so
man?
Good, man? Are we going to
Why
get
not?
to that point? Nobody ever does that. You can't.
I don't think so. I mean, we celebrate it so much in collegiate athletics. Well, it's more college football, but in athletics, like, why can't a coach do it, Brent?
That'd be awesome. Be so
I hope
good.
so. I mean, I do, but then I say that and I watch Ben Johnson. He pulls out the Lions hat. Would break my heart.
Oh yeah, well that's
it would
true,
break
too.
a lot of people's heart.
That is true.
And Detroit would go absolutely ballistic.
I already had Raiders fans swearing at me yesterday for
There you
saying
go.
I don't believe the Raiders. I mean these.
Oh, I had someone said that I need to get hit in the face. Hang on, what was that comment? Somebody was
say I
super
do every day.
aggressive. Yeah, I know, right? This is when I said Robert Saleh might come to Jacksonville if like the top 3 candidates
Yeah.
in Cohen. He goes, I know A-Train would beat me up to a puddle of goo, but the man needs to be smacked. Maybe not smacked, but a stern talking to.
That's a slightly respectful.
A stern talking? What are you, a substitute teacher? You're not going to do it? What are you, give me a stern talking to. Ooh, please. Yeah.
Hey, UNF just released some information. They are having updates and upgrades to Hodges Stadium. Ospreys will renovate the weight room and athletic training room over there at Hodges Stadium. So some good news as they continue to enhance their facilities. Talk a little bit more about UNF and JU, by the way, both winning on Thursday night. So good news, UNFospreys.com for more information on what's going into that for the student athletes. And by the way, that's not for a specific sport. That's for all of the student athletes, over 300 of them on the campus of the University of North Florida. Brian Flores is in the interview room today at some point for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's making the rounds. How do you feel about Brian Flores as a football coach and as the idea of a football coach of your favorite team?
Yeah, so this is almost kind of like the reverse Ryan Nielsen effect, which is maybe what you want now. I'm looking back at how Ryan Nielsen performed this year, but remember how we kind of, well, at least I praised Ryan Nielsen a lot because a lot of players spoke out in favor of him.
Yeah.
You know, Cam Jordan was a big advocate of him. Well, you've had the opposite, it seems like, a little bit here in terms of Brian Flores. You've had, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa come out and kind of speak his truth, saying, you know, he was kind of bullied, essentially. And then you've had Ryan Fitzpatrick come out and say, too, that, yeah, it wasn't a good atmosphere in Miami with Brian Flores. And while I think Brian Flores had a lot of success this year, obviously calling the defense of the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings seem to have really taken to him. And I think Brian Flores has actually learned a lot from his time coaching Miami. What is it going? I mean, what are the optics going to look like though for Trevor if you bring in a guy who, you know, has had some disgruntled former employees in Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, it's a really tough sell, isn't it? Like, I don't even know all the things about, like, I've never really just I'm not deep diving yet. We'll see if he becomes a finalist. Then we start deep diving on these guys, but I'm not deep diving on, okay, what really happened there? Folks in Miami know if he's back in front of owners for a head coaching job, first of all, he's probably very good at what he's doing, and he did a great job in Minnesota this year. But some of that stuff seems maybe worse on the surface than it is deep down, potentially. Yeah. Or is this the NFL saying, hey, we've got to be careful to exclude anyone, even if they are feuding a little bit with the NFL? Because I think there's still like an active back and forth, whether it's a lawsuit or whatever else with Flores. So it's an odd deal.
Yeah.
But the idea that he's getting time in front of owners, this guy's only 43 years old.
Yeah.
Is the view on him that he's still like a star in the making in the coaching ranks?
I mean, I think he is. Like I said, Minnesota has gravitated towards him. Like he's celebrated in that locker room. I think you ask any Minnesota player how they feel about Brian Flores, they have nothing but great things to say about him. So once again, like, listen, coaches change, right? Philosophies change, attitudes change.
Absolutely.
And like,
you live and learn.
And give Brian Flores credit for, I feel like he's kind of learned to adapt a little more and has become more of a player-friendly coach and everything. That's great. And I'm sure maybe he will get another opportunity. It's just, you know, one of the things with Trevor Lawrence is like he's never really had a coach that's had his back per se, right? And he's always had to deal with the other stuff. So I'm not sure having a matrimony of Brian Flores and Trevor Lawrence would be the best possible outcome because, once again, from Brian Flores' past.
Yeah, and so this goes way. Obviously, when he left the Dolphins, and then he filed a lawsuit against the NFL, the Giants, the Broncos, the Dolphins for racial discrimination, and that goes all the way back to his time with the New England Patriots. And I guess the most recent thing I'm finding out here now is last March, so actually 2 Marches ago, so 2 years ago, a judge granted the NFL's motion to compel arbitration in the lawsuit, except as to Flores' claims against the Giants, the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos, and his related claims against the NFL. I don't even know what the hell that means.
Fair.
But that was the latest thing, at least on this, that I can see. So I think what you just said, though, is paramount. One, it feels clunky because it feels odd, the whole situation around him, whether that's right or wrong, who's in the right, who's in the wrong. I'm not here to say that.
Yeah.
We don't know. I'm just telling you it feels clunky. Like, why would you why would this organization, why would a Raiders organization, why would a Bears organization, these organizations that have had trouble winning, trouble with toxicity, quite frankly, maybe not the Bears as much, but Urban just a few years ago, why in the world would Brian Flores be a viable frontline candidate for you? I'm not saying he can't be a candidate at all, but why would he be a frontline candidate for you? Mm-hmm. I don't feel that. Like, I think there's a lot that doesn't make sense, but there's also a lot of information we don't know. And then you just said it. Why a guy that Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick, a franchise quarterback, and a guy that's been around like every organization in the league, and doesn't mean they're right, quite frankly. But why would you put your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, in a potential situation for that? And so it feels like, while gaining knowledge, doing your due diligence, potentially a candidate at 43 years old, he could be in these cycles for years to come.
Yeah, for sure.
That it would be far-fetched that he's the guy for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. That's just the way it feels.
Yep, absolutely.
But we said that about a couple of candidates, in all fairness. We haven't said that. We don't feel like Steve Spagnuolo is going to get the job, right?
Yeah, but I think in terms of red flags, I think Flores comes with probably the biggest one.
Yeah. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I work from a place of logic a lot when you're trying to predict and solve the puzzle pieces and everything else. This one just wouldn't make sense. This would be way out of bounds for, again, the Jags specific situation. He might be a good candidate in Chicago because there's a toughness about it. It gets you back to the old 80s Bear. Maybe you're trying to build that again. That's who you are as a team, a franchise. Maybe that fits. A guy from Brooklyn, New York, tough as nails in Chicago. Not saying we don't need a tough guy. I'm just telling you right now this is built around a franchise quarterback that having a guy that
Chicago's kind of built around the Caleb Williams.
Well, but I could see them going back to, hey, we want to be like Mike Ditka.
Sure.
And, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We don't really have. I mean, we do have that a little bit with Coughlin, but so maybe you can make the case here. I just don't think you can because Urban Meyer was here 3 years ago. Like, Urban has an impact on this decision every time I talk about it, and a couple of different folks on their interview list, and I think Flores is one of them. Because you just don't want the idea of anything like that in the building.
Speaking of second opportunities for head coaches, who do you think has a better shot of landing here, Flores or Saleh?
Saleh, without a doubt. Like Saleh, again, as I'm talking, I'm thinking, okay, what did we say yesterday? Safe, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Saleh's the safe guy. Yep. Like, you're not going to have any issues with Saleh. You know what you're getting with Saleh, I think.
Yeah.
Now you ask yourself, floor, ceiling, all those kind of things, but. Yeah, I think Saleh's amongst the safest of the picks. I think Flores would be a roll of the dice. And by the way, when somebody has whatever happens and all this stuff, I think he is in the cycle because he learned from it and he's come a long way, or he gets rave reviews from people inside the Minnesota building. And why not try to duplicate a team that won 14 games this year and 13 games 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. Like, so. There are certain reasons for, why not? I just don't, man, I think that, you talk about hard sells.
Yeah.
Like, just put yourself in a position in 2 weeks. And they announce Brian Flores as the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, what's going to be the temperature around here?
I think there's going to be a little uneasiness.
Well, I can tell you this from a news standpoint. Like, our news folks are then doing all these other stories. Like that comes with the introduction.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And you really don't have that everywhere else. I mean, that's again, I don't know if Brian Flores has earned the baggage to come along with him in that sense. But the bottom line is it does.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to every story, right? And you have two guys that have spoken out against him. I don't know if there's been any more. I think, two guys that have really kind of put it out there. Then you have, I'm sure, a lot of guys in Minnesota that would speak very highly of him, right? So, I mean, is it fair to judge somebody based off of what happened a couple years ago? I mean, I don't know. And like I said, people change, coaching philosophies change, all this stuff. I just think with Trevor Lawrence, whatever happened in Miami, and however bad it was, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, I would say. And listen, we do have recent history on this. I mean, there are people that wondered, and we still don't know why and what and all the stuff on Eric Bieniemy, but there are folks that still wondered if his past in Colorado, which was some 20, 25 years ago, and totally different, okay? I want to make that clear, that still hampered him, even 20-plus years ago. So this is more recent memory, and again, a totally different scenario. I do not want to paint them alike. I just want to say that it comes with stuff that you're talking about on top of the football side. And if you look at the other candidates, I don't think we have a lot of that. It would be like trying to hire, I don't want to even make other comparisons because I'm not trying to loop Flores in with that. I'm just saying when you have other things that also you have to navigate through, I think it makes it trickier for a candidate.
Yeah.
That's just natural. So we'll see. Brian Flores goes today, Kellen Moore as well. And I hate to sit here. I don't really like to do this. I kind of catch myself that, wait a minute, if they're a candidate, they're a candidate. If you're a candidate, you should be a candidate. Like, I don't think Patrick Graham was that much of a candidate for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he was more of a DC candidate. I think it was a due diligence thing. And I think because he's a guy that in 3, 4, 5 years, he could come back up in the cycle.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to do the legwork on even the next guys down the road. But I do think while I say that, I feel like that's unfair to the candidate, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that we say things like that. I also just trying to say how I feel.
Yeah.
But I say the same thing about like Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, four Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. Do I really feel like they were going to go with a guy that has like a 10-30-something record in his head coaching career, even though it was 14 years ago? No. So then why? Like, why interview him? It's just for information gathering?
No, I mean, I think the more people that you interview, the more you can make an educated guess of like, all right, where are we going to rank all these people, right? Yeah. If you're going to rank if you're going to interview 4 people, 4 candidates, right? Okay, well, this guy's the best, this guy, but like when you have more and more to compare them to, maybe some are similar, maybe some have come from the same coaching tree. It allows you to see a lot more and make, I think, the best guess or the best hire that's possible. Yeah. So I think it's with anything. I mean, like there's obviously, I think, we talk about all the time, there's a 3 or 4 tier that's like, okay, these guys are the guys that we want, and then there's everybody else. But it doesn't hurt to interview as many people as possible because then it helps you compare to everybody.
And let's be honest, the candidate's in a tough spot too. Because, you're going to pass it up?
Yeah.
It takes some guts to pass up a chance at a 1-32 job.
Sure.
Because if you're in the room, you got a chance to blow them away. And,
you do.
Right?
But also, I think that all depends, though. Like with Ben Johnson, he's the hottest name. So I think he has all the power. So he has the right to say, that situation over there, I didn't even want to try. I mean,
like Aaron Glenn did. Glenn did to the Patriots.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm not playing that game. You're just interviewing me just to interview me.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's knowing your worth.
I appreciate that.
Sure, and some coaches right now in this cycle have a lot more self-worth than others.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's do this. We asked some of these questions to Mike Malarkey coming up next. He's been in the room before. What is it like? What actually gets said? How do these guys determine it? Do the coaches even know? I guess we'll find out. Mike Malarkey, former Jags head coach, joins us coming up next here on the Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Called the Ospreys game last night. Slow start for the Ospreys. And, man, they went 13 for 15 in the second half at one time from downtown. You can't do that in practice.
Can't do the NBA, that's for sure.
13 for 15 from beyond the arc in the second half at one point. I think they ended up 13 for 17 in the second half. Or no, they actually hit 14 of them. But they go on to win 92-80. They'll be home again tomorrow, 2 o'clock. We'll be calling that one on ESPN+. Hopefully you can join us against North Alabama. Ospreys now 2-3 in ASUN action. It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Springs, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
'24 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the note for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242.
You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing.
Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, save 10% off a new Rinnai tankless water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
All right, another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jaxhighschool912.com.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices or pitching. Yeah! Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, there's the requested interviews for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Flores today, by the way, Brady tomorrow. Cohen already interviewed. So did Glenn last week. Graham, too. That was part of a 3-interview set on Saturday. Ben Johnson with the same. Todd Monken last night. Kellen Moore today. Robert Saleh Tuesday. Steve Spagnuolo was the first one to go a week ago today. So if you're looking at this, it's about an 8-day process to get through the 10 interviews. Some happened late at night after Shad was hosting an event. Went till about midnight on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was, with Liam Cohen. And the only one I believe it's in person is Robert Saleh, because he's the only one that's not with the team. And so everything else has been virtual. Starting on Monday, as far as I know the new rules, they'll be able to go in person. And who will that be? Will it be new candidates? Can you add to the list? Sure, you can if you want. And who are they going to invite back for that second dance, if you will? Brent Martineau Austen Lane, Jason Hamby on a Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay warm. It's actually going to warm up a little bit this week, and then we might get snow next week here in Jacksonville.
Let's go, man.
That would be awesome, actually. Yeah. Would be great if we saw a little bit of that. Not sure if we'll get it, but stay tuned. Next Tuesday,
football weather, Brent, they call that.
That is football weather. We're going to get snow around the league this Sunday. In places like Buffalo and Philly. And I think that really gives an advantage to the Eagles now over the L.A. Rams, it would seem like, if it does snow as much as they say.
Don't sleep on Williams, though, man. Williams, like I said, is one of the most underrated running backs in the league.
I'm sleeping on Stafford, who played indoors and in L.A. the whole his career.
That's
he doesn't strike me as a cold weather guy.
It's not bad, yeah.
He played at Georgia, too, in his college career. Let's bring in Mike Malarkey. He's okay with the cold weather. The tough guys are fine with the cold weather. That is for sure. And he joins us now from here in Jacksonville and joins us once in a while on the show. And we got a good, fun playoff action coming up this weekend. You looking forward to it? Will you be watching?
Oh, I'll definitely be watching. Great weekend for sports, leading all the way up to the national championship on Monday night. So, back-to-back weekends. If you love football, it's time to enjoy this. So, yeah, and, I'm watching the Lions.
Yeah, that's right. Surprised you don't have a Lions hat on.
I had one on. I'm like, I like going to Jags practices. If I put a Lions hat on, I may never be invited back.
Listen.
I sport all the Lions gear everywhere I go. The gym hates me because I'm just decked out. I'm really proud of my son. So
that's awesome. That's a fun ride right up there right now. And by the way, you might there might be some folks unloading Lions gear that coming down to Jacksonville. Maybe a Ben Johnson, maybe an Aaron Glenn. So you might be getting more.
That would be all right. You're talking about two tremendous football coaches and really good people. I've got a chance to know them and just quality, very, very smart football coaches.
Hey, Coach, do me a favor. If you're on a laptop, just pull that laptop down just a little bit so we make you look better. You sound great. There you go. There you go. You'll even look better now with us here on the Brent and Austen Show. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to say, Ben Johnson's really been the hot topic, it seems like, the past couple months or so in terms of the coaching cycle. But now Aaron Glenn's kind of getting some traction as well. And we talked a lot about Ben Johnson, but what do you know about Aaron Glenn? I mean, seems like a guy who could come into a situation and rebuild a culture. The players seem to love playing for him. And what he's been able to do in Detroit with third and fourth stringers on defense has been nothing short of a miracle, it seems like.
Yeah, no, that's all the credit goes to that staff, starting obviously with Dan Campbell. But Aaron's done a tremendous job because they are depleted beyond belief. You cannot, you see the numbers and who's playing. And what he's done has been every bit as impressive as what, the offense has done with all those tools. But he has them playing. They're very disciplined in what they do. There's no, you watch. I know what I'm watching. There's nothing out of place. There's not a lot of missed assignments, and you got guys that are going 100 miles to the ball. I'm going to go back a game to the Minnesota game that they had to win. They had to beat Minnesota, but the week before that, when they did not have to win the game, and they didn't even have to play the players. They on either side of the ball, that team played like it was a playoff game. I mean, all the way, it was just unbelievable the effort that they gave in a game that did not matter, and they all could have been, bitching about, I can't believe I have to play. There was nothing of that. The energy was unbelievable. So that's a credit to that whole coaching staff, and especially on defense when they are really shorthanded.
They almost had to play in that game because that's who they are. That's who they are. And he had to do it, and he did it. And that was the San Francisco game, and you're exactly right. And they played well. They kept winning, and again, that you win everything. And that's kind of the mentality they've played with, and they look that way. We're looking at half offensive guys and half defensive guys here in Jacksonville. I think the only thing that Schott and this organization haven't done is that younger offensive guy. It's the under 40, I would call it, offensive guy. With all due respect, even to Todd Monken, who I think is a fantastic coach. I really like Coach Monken as well. I think his age hurts them in my mind because I think the Jags haven't gone younger offensive guy in the past. But what we wrestle with this all the time, Coach Mularkey. What's the difference, or is there a big difference in an organization? Young offensive mind, take care of the quarterback versus culture, defense, harden, all those things that you're preaching and talking about up there in Detroit.
It's just the trend. I mean, there's an article out now. It's the Sean McVay. Since he got in the league, I think he was 31 when he was named a head coach. The league has gone drastically younger. And it's nothing negative about it. There's a lot of good football coaches. I had a Dick LeBeau that was 80 years old, and he was as good of a football coach as anybody in the NFL. But that's just the trend that owners are going with. A lot of it's, with analytics and the computer backgrounds and all the things that are much more popular now in today's football. That's the younger, speaking of Dick LeBeau, didn't have a computer, didn't use a computer. Yeah. I'm sure that's 7 million emails, but he never, he drew everything up. There's guys that just the Dom Capers. I know he never used, that's just it. But now is the way of the times. It's the computer and all the analytics that are available to you.
Coach, when we talk about, young offensive coordinators getting opportunities as a head coach, is this based more on, they bring these guys in because they can relate to players better, or is it based more on the new school offensive philosophies? Because we can sit here and say, there's this revolutionary with the motion and the bunch and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we watch these playoff games, you're going to have teams pounding the rock, you're going to have teams still winning the trenches. So is this more about just trying to relate to a locker room more than it is kind of the X's and O's?
I'd say yes to both of those. I think back, my first opportunity to interview was with it was my first year as an offensive coordinator with the Steelers. We were it was 2001. We went to the championship. We played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and I flew down to Tampa and interviewed the next day after that game that we lost, and I can remember mentally and physically just being absolutely exhausted. And I think what they looked at, I had coached in Tampa earlier, so I knew the GM, Rich McKay, and Jerry Angelo, who interviewed me. It was, based on what we were doing offensively, they liked the scheme, which was, deception. We were all over the place, which is my big belief, personnel, formations, shifts, motions, snap counts. They liked that part of it, but they also liked what they saw, how the players played, because to get players to play at a level that they played, like we had even in Jacksonville, to get them to play at that level, that's hard to do. What Dan Campbell's having them do, that's hard to get players to play at that level. And I think that's what they saw in the interview process when Tampa interviewed me. I knew one thing. I wasn't going to remember a lot of the interview because I was that exhausted. So as soon as I left it, I went out. I went to the airport and I tried to write down everything they asked me just in case I ever got a chance to interview again.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. All right, so take us in the room. I mean, what you did it? 10? You got 10 interviews, I think you told me, or at least invitations to interview. I think you said you turned down a few of them, and I guess I could start there. Why did you turn down a few of them?
Well, actually, I went back and counted. I had 13 chances to interview for a head coaching job. I declined 3 of them. 2 were with the Raiders. That one, the first time, I was so well prepared to go out to Oakland with Al Davis, and I mean, I was pretty sure I was going to get that job. And I was dressed, had my coat, ready to go. I was heading out the door to go to the car, and I came back in. My wife said, "What'd you forget?" And I said, "I didn't forget anything. I don't want to be the head coach of the Raiders. I'm not going to go out there and waste their time or mine." Al Davis is a vertical. He likes fast, throw it down the field, unload the ball all
speed. Yeah,
like that is not my mentality. And I called and I graciously declined to go out there because it just the fit was not right. But I was well prepared to go. And then they asked me to come back, another 2 years later, they invited me back. I just, same thing. And then in Denver, that was just a personal reason I turned that thing down. But, I have no regrets on any of the things I did. But, yeah, 10 others that, and within that, there are basically 10 different interviews. You can't go in and think you're going to get the same questions from everybody. It's pretty interesting how it works, who's asking the questions, who's in the room. Here in Jacksonville, Shad and Gene Smith were in the room. Gene obviously asking majority of the football questions. I was the first assistant in the NFL that was able to interview for a job during the playoffs. So in 2001, I didn't get the job in Tampa. Obviously, John Gruden did. 2002, I was interviewed by Cincinnati. Actually, the Brown family came over to Pittsburgh. We were in the playoffs. We were done with the week, so all my preparation was done. But the whole family drove over from Cincinnati, sat down and interviewed me. And we won. We won the first game. I think we beat Baltimore. Had to go to Tennessee. So it didn't disrupt me. All these guys are interviewing why they're in the playoffs. It was not a disruption because basically the game plan's in. I don't want anybody to think that can happen. But and that interview was interesting because they pretty much had talked about a salary in the interview. I've only had done one before in Tampa, and there was no money ever talked about. Cincinnati was already talking about what the contract was going to be. And I left there and I called my wife and I said, I swear to God, I think they want me to be the head coach. I mean, they're already talking about a contract. My agent wasn't in there. I was doing an interview.
Yeah.
And they stayed in contact with me. We won the next game. We won the next week. And the media was, it's Marvin Lewis. It's Marvin Lewis, the head coach. Marvin Lewis, the head coach. And I'm like, Marvin Lewis isn't in the playoffs. Marvin Lewis can get the job a week ago. And they're like, oh, he's got the job. I'm like, oh, no, he doesn't. I'm pretty sure I know who has the job. And, they flew me down after we lost to Tennessee and to Mobile, and they had a room for me to interview coaches. And I still hadn't agreed to be the head coach yet. And, at that time, my son was a senior in high school in Pittsburgh. I'd been there for 8 years. Both my sons basically gone through school there, and there was things I didn't want to miss in their life. And one morning I got up to go meet with them. I declined the job, and I walked out of their hotel room, and this is the God's honest truth. I walked out the door, and Marvin Lewis was walking downstairs across the courtyard. That's how fast they had called him after I declined the job.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow. Have you talked to Marvin Lewis over the years about it?
I think Marvin knows. He went on for it'd be 18 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good run.
I had no regrets. I thought, heck, the worst thing that's going to happen to me, I'm the offense coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I get to go back and I'll be with my family, and hopefully I get another chance to be a head coach. But I had no regrets about it at all. But I think I made the right decision.
Coach, my only interviews that I've had occurred at the combine, right, in a professional setting, and I always felt like at the combine when I was getting interviewed as a player, like I felt like I was on. I felt like I was like getting asked questions like I murdered somebody. Like it's a very intense process. There's bright lights. You're at a round table. Everyone's kind of looking at you a little bit, and is it kind of like that to be a head coach or to try to be a head coach and meet with these teams? And also, much like I've reported before, I got asked a lot of weird questions during these interviews as well. Do you have one weird question or a weird experience that sticks out to you in the interview process?
Yes.
Let's go.
Well, like I said, I like going to Jags practices. So
all right, never mind then.
When Shad asked me one football question during the interview. And remember, Shad had bought the team on Monday. He was interviewing me on Thursday, so he was just getting his feet wet. But he asked me if players played both ways. And I thought to myself, I'm not sure this is going to be a good marriage, Shad. But that's probably the one that comes to mind as quickly as I can answer. I'm sure he knows a whole lot more than he did that first week he was the owner of this team.
That's it. That's interesting you say that, though, because I've argued this one too, and obviously Sean gets criticized for the football stuff and what does he know, but because I think we see Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones is in front of a mic and he's making decisions. But in your experiences, like the Rooney family or other folks, the Brown family, all across the league, I mean, we've got a lot of rich people that own teams that didn't necessarily make their money because of football. Like the Pagulas in Buffalo run a really good organization right now, but I don't know how much football they know. Did you find it when you were working in the NFL that the owner kind of knew a lot of football or some football? And I know Shad's comes from a totally different experience. He was really just learning football and probably has a lot in the last dozen years. But what's your experience with owners in terms of their football knowledge to begin with?
Oh, it varied. It really varied. And an interview with Atlanta, Arthur Blank, I thought was, Arthur knows what he's talking about. He's very hands-on, especially during the season. Mondays, there's meetings every Monday with the coordinators. You just know they're asking the right questions. It was interesting. After I declined Cincinnati, I had left the hotel, and I was driving to the airport, and a 904 number came up, and it happened to be Wayne Weaver. Wanted to see if I would interview for the job, and I met him and Paul Vance in a hotel Holiday Inn room. Like, you can't believe the room I was in with him, interviewing for a head coaching job. But, I just turned down one. I didn't want to leave Pittsburgh, but then I'm like, hey, this is my home state. I could go home to Florida if I got the job. But it was interesting was I sat down with them, the questions that they asked, and I'd been in a couple now interviews. I already knew in the first 10 minutes that I was there that they already had somebody in mind for that job. They weren't asking me the right questions.
Interesting.
Or didn't ask me about a staff, which staff is the number one. If it's not the top priority of what teams want to know who you're going to hire, it's pretty close. Never asked me about that. I knew they had already talked to somebody about that job, and so when I left there, I had no hope. But the media, until Jack Del Rio was hired, the media the whole time, Mike Malarkey's got that job. Mike Malarkey's got that job. Just to kind of give you a variance of two different situations.
Yeah.
But I knew the questions were different and not as, but again, a good experience anytime you can interview. All these guys are interviewing, 20 of them in New York and 20 in Chicago.
Crazy.
Any interview is a good one. And if they don't leave there and keep track of what's being discussed and what they need to do better, then it's good for them. These interviews are great for them.
Coach, through the interviewing process, like you said, you've had a lot of interviews. When you've walked away from them, or when you exited the meeting, which one stood out to you? That's the spot that I want to coach at. What set those apart? Where it was I hope they call me back because I want to be there.
Atlanta was one that I walked out. I really wanted to have an opportunity. I really wanted to be here in Jacksonville. I mean, I did. I had turned down a couple other, the interview with Denver. I think it was even Oakland. I wanted to come to Jacksonville. I wanted to come down here because I thought I had a chance to do something special down here. And I had a lot of respect for Gene Smith. I did not know Gene at all, but my son was here as a scout, and that had a big influence as well, but also being from Florida. But the Buffalo job that I took, I liked. I actually, I knew that the GM, Tom Donahoe. He had been with Pittsburgh as a GM.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually the scout that brought me there as a player.
Oh, wow.
So I knew him as a scout. So I knew him as a GM with the Steelers. And then, I saw a vision there too with Ralph Wilson. Ralph was around football a long time. So that was an important one. And then in Tennessee, that one was kind of, I talked about this earlier. Tennessee, I was hired as the intern. And then, they had actually talked to me before the 15 season was over, where there was actually a couple of games to go. They actually came in and told me I was going to be the head coach moving forward. And, they didn't ask me if I wanted to be the head coach moving forward. Because I'll be honest, I sat there, that team, there was such an overhaul that had to be done. I didn't know if I had the energy at my age or where, all the years I've been coaching. I didn't know if I could turn a franchise completely around, which needed to be done with staff, with players, with organization, with this facility, you name it, it had to be done. I really wasn't sure. But that was really kind of handed to me. I still interviewed for the job. I did, but I pretty much knew I had it. And once I got it, I was gonna run with it, knowing there's not going to be any others after this one. So I had it's really the first job too. Now, just talking about interviewing, staffs are important. That's the first job out of the three that I had that I could hire my own staff. I hired everybody. Buffalo, who I wanted to bring as the offense coordinator, they didn't want that individual. They wanted another one, who I brought in, Tom Clemens, who just retired from Green Bay. A really good coach, but not the one that I wanted to bring in there. And some of the coaches, they wanted to keep on defense, which I felt fine. They were number 2 the year before. But in Jacksonville, and again, if a suggestion is made during those interviews that we would like this guy to be kept on the current staff, or this, we like this guy, if you don't agree to it, you're probably not going to get the job. So you got to kind of go with the flow, especially if you're a first-time head coach. When they say we'd like to keep this guy, or we'd rather have this guy as a coordinator, you're like, okay, because I know that's part of getting the job.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit here in Jacksonville too. Some suggestions for who to hire, and some of them I probably wouldn't have kept if I'd have been around my second year.
I think that's really dumb, by the way. Like, I mean, I just think that's kind of, I get it. There's a lot of positions. And listen, I could suggest right now, if I'm in that room with all these 10 candidates, hey, Heath Farwell did a nice job. He's got some of the best special teams in the league. Like, you might want to keep him. We've got him under contract. Obviously, the owner has a lot of this coaching staff under contract. He's like, hey, let's keep these guys if they're pretty good, so I don't have to go pay other people too. Like, I get it, but, and maybe this has changed a little bit because we're hearing coach-centric. Coach Mularkey, coach-centric, coach-centric, coach-centric. Well, if you're going to give coach-centric here in Jacksonville, then you let a Ben Johnson, and Aaron Glenn, a Liam Cole, you name it, you let those guys decide and make these decisions, right? Isn't that what coach-centric means?
That's important. I mean, the most success I had was in Tennessee because I had all the guys that I knew had my back. And most of the guys I'd hired, I'd worked with or I'd played with. In the league. And so just the trust factor, if you don't know somebody, they don't know you, you can learn to live together. But it's, I know the relationship and the results were much better when I could hire my own guys.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Coach, what about, you talk about coaches, what about the GM? Because when you came to Jacksonville, the GM was already put into place. You have some situations now where, the coach can kind of pick his own GM and, it's somebody that you probably know. Like, How do you feel about that situation? Like, if you had it your way, would you obviously just bring your own GM, a guy that you know, or is it pretty easy to work with somebody new that you don't really know in the GM role?
That's a good question, Austin. I think Ben Johnson's got the right idea of work. He'd like to bring in somebody that he is comfortable and confident and trust to work with. You're tied to the hip, when you come in with a GM. Everything that happens in that organization from A to Z is the two of you that are responsible for it. And, to walk in with somebody you've never worked with, it's difficult. It's not impossible. My relationship with Gene Smith was very close. I still have a lot of respect for Gene and how hard he worked. I've never seen a guy work like him in my whole career in the NFL. But we had to learn a lot about each other, and I think it was a good fit. Gene and I. We're going to do some things different our second year. We were going to move some people that probably shouldn't have been here in the first place. But again, those are things you got to have a chance, an opportunity to have more than 1 year. Once you got to have an opportunity to see what you have, and then hopefully build off of that. And it's hard to do it in a year. So, even in Tennessee with John Robinson, I think we had the same philosophical, we like the same things. I just, he liked, it was a New England thing. I don't know what the New England, being enamored by, other than them winning all the Super Bowls. But I think he wanted a New England, Mike Vrabel, obviously they'd known each other. So there you go. Guys that know each other. And that's kind of what happened to me there in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot. I have been saying this. Go ahead, Coach.
No, in Buffalo, they fired Tom Donahoe after my second year, and they brought in Marv Levy at the time. Marv was 80s, I think maybe been 82 or 83, to be the GM. And I thought, this is a difficult situation, because if we win, it's because Marv Levy's back. If we lose, it's because Mike Malarkey's still the head coach. Marv, I heard Marv when he first got in his office. He goes, "Hey, where do you turn this computer on?" And I'm like, "This is our new general manager." And that's the direction that we were going at that time was not the way I felt the team was going to be built, and that's one of the reasons I resigned. There's other reasons, personal reasons, family reasons, that I ended up resigning from that job. But when they lost Tom Donahoe and they brought in Marv, it was going to be a completely different structure of that organization.
Yeah, it's not what you signed up for. Like, I get it. This is the tricky part of this whole deal to me. It's 1 in 32, so it's obviously coveted. It pays good money, especially now. It pays really good money. So you don't mind getting wedged in for an opportunity to say, "Hey, I can fix it. I can do this. I can make it work." You got confidence in yourself. But the bottom line is, I say this about any job here at the station, at Whataburger, or in the NFL. You want to be put in a position to succeed. And
absolutely,
all this disjointed nature of, "Hey, yeah, but you got to make this work and this work," and it's hard enough. It's hard enough to win in the league, and then to force all these other things outside it. Again, you can't give Urban Meyer control, is what I say. I think Urban had too much control, Coach. Like, you can't be running the business side of the building and this side of the building and all this stuff. Like, and not to say he was doing all that, but you get my point. You can be coach-centric. You can let that guy do his thing like Bill Belichick did for many years, I'm assuming, in New England, and other successful guys have. But you don't have to, stick Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn with this and this and this. That is not a good start. That is not sustainable, in my opinion.
Ben's not going to be stuck with anybody. I mean, Ben could have been a head coach last year, and I'm not so sure the year before. Ben's had opportunities. Ben's happy where he's at. Ben's making a good salary as the offensive coordinator. He likes living in Detroit. Ben's going to do it the way Ben wants to do it, and I think that's the way it ought to be. Especially when he's having the success he's having. But I think he's a smart guy. But yeah, I just think, he's there's a fine line of that GM and head coach who you're going to be working with, 16, 18-hour days. Better get along and better have the same vision, or it's going to be a difficult relationship.
I know we've kept you a long time. I don't know if you're going to go for a run on the beach or go to Dwight's for lunch. Actually, they don't open till like 5:30 if you go there for dinner tonight. But either way, let's just end. I just have two quick ones. I really have 50 other questions about this process. But so does that make? Are you a good interviewer? I mean, you're good on our show. I'm just saying, do you find yourself as a good interviewer, the fact that you were able to land 3 head coaching jobs and one of the few coaches in NFL history, by the way, that has been able to do that?
I thought I was a good interviewer. I thought what I did to get into the interview was what was important. That was the product that was on the field. What people saw got me into that interview, and that was a lot of people that helped me get into that room. But yeah, I felt good about it because obviously the more I did, the more comfortable I was, and I was very well prepared when I walked in. I've got all my notes from my Titans interview sitting here in front of me, the team policies and procedures that I know they're going to ask me about, our objectives. What are we going to do? What are you going to do the first 3 days on the job? There's some, obviously I told you about the staff. What are you going to do in free agency? What are you going to do with how are you going to do a lot of things? And I'd done it so many times. I felt good about it. I was very confident in what I was doing. And then I had the experience of being head coach before those last 2 interviews. That certainly had, an impact as well.
I got to believe the question's getting asked, what are you going to do with Trevor Lawrence, right? I mean, some of these offensive guys.
That'll be a big question. That'll be a big question. Yes.
Yeah.
You're asked what's the offensive mentality? What are you going to do defensively? 3-4, 4-3. There's a reason you're in there a long time. Your practices, are you going to be in full pads? What's your mentality with that? Austin knows my mentality on that. You're going to be in full pads.
No, without a doubt, man.
Longest interview you ever had?
What was the longest?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even interviewed in Tennessee, so that knocks that one out. I'd probably say Shad and Gene when they interviewed me after we got knocked out of the playoffs in Atlanta. That was a long one.
Coach, real quick, my final question. So Ben Johnson's the hottest name, right? And it seems like he has a lot of power right now, and he can also go back to Detroit if he wants to and keep doing what he's doing there. So he has a lot of things at his disposal. So for instance, Ben Johnson, the hottest name right now, will he be able to ask questions himself to get a better feel? Or is it more... Yeah. But I'm saying, what percentage of his the team would be Shad Khan, would be Trent Baalke asking him questions, and what percentage would it be hey, Ben, I want to know about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I want to know about what you guys are bringing to the table.
Yeah, is Trevor Lawrence? Are you locked into Trevor Lawrence? Those are questions everybody should ask. If you don't go in there with a plan, if you're not prepared, first of all, you better know the roster. You better know everybody on the roster. I mean, that's the one thing preparing for the interview. You got to sit down and watch everything about that team. I think I mentioned this to you guys before. I used to watch, especially with teams that had poor seasons. I wanted to see who was going to play those last few games. How are they playing? Had they tanked it? Had they give in? But I wanted to know everything about it. They asked me about a player. I was going to be able to spit it out to them, what I thought about them. So that, if they don't ask, I was going to ask, and especially about the quarterback position. You're going to be asked about what are we going to do the next 2 years when the stadium's being. There's a lot of questions I would have if I was getting ready to prepare for it. I'd have a lot of questions here.
I would say, yeah, you should have a lot of questions here, by the way, based on what's been done, and the Raiders and the Bears and those kind of jobs. This is not a team and a franchise that's obviously won a lot, so you should investigate. I think you bring up a great point. I feel like there's a hidden thing about this job, and there are a lot of good things about this job that make it good in Jacksonville, I think, from the outside looking in, even though we're right here. But one of the things, if you're moving your family, and you mentioned that earlier, that, hey, family decisions, this factors in, and it has to for guys that are 38, 39 years old, or even 50-something years old. Well, this is as close to a 4-year guaranteed job as you're going to find in the NFL. And I know you probably don't feel safe in that because of the things that have happened to you. Yeah. But I mean, don't you look at it that way, Mike? Like this is like you're opening the stadium in 28 because of all these other things that you have to deal with, limited capacity, more London games maybe in 26, and then no home games in 27. Whoever gets this job, in my estimation, I know you can't guarantee, but it's a handshake. You're our guy. And we're going to see this through for at least 4 years. You don't get that a lot in the NFL.
No, you don't. You should. I mean, it takes some time to get your culture, everything you want to accomplish. Your vision has to come to, into play. And I don't know how many years that is, but it should be 4 here. I mean, this should be one of the most attractive jobs. Just living in Jacksonville is one of the top things I would think as a coach who wanted to come in here and for his family. I mean, I play golf with Coach Coughlin and Randy Edsel and every Wednesday, and Randy said, there's a great coaching staff that lives down at the beaches. They could just hire everybody that lives here. But there's a lot of coaches that live here because they still live here, even when myself included. This environment here is tremendous for a family, and there's a lot of positives. But one thing I did every place I went, I weighed all the pluses, all the good and the bad, and I always did. Even whether I was leaving the job in Buffalo, I put pluses and minuses, what's good and what's bad about it, and there are a lot of pluses here, I think, for teams,
Coach,
for coaches.
Coach, did you ever weigh the AFC South? Right now it's wide open. Right, you have the Houston Texans, and that's about it. Like, did you ever weigh the division in terms of who you're playing against twice a year in your decision, or were you more for the fact of, hey, doesn't matter who we're playing, I'm going to try to win?
No, it didn't matter.
There you go,
Brent. It did
Brent.
not matter.
There you go, Brent. Told you, man. I told you, Brent.
He did say that, Coach. I don't. Why not? I mean, you're factoring all these things. Like, you want to go face Andy Reid and Patrick
you're going to win wherever you go.
You want to go face Campbell and the Lions and Vikings in the NFC North, or do you want to go face Tennessee,
Coach,
Houston,
tell him, man,
and the Colts in the South? Like, why wouldn't that factor in on your list?
I had a thing in our weight room in Tennessee. Anywhere, anytime.
Yep.
It didn't matter. I don't care. There, home, London, bring it on. So I mean, you start worrying about other. If you even think that, I'm a big, I believe a lot of things you visionary. If you think you're going to have struggle, against the Kansas City, you're going to struggle against Kansas City.
Preach, Brent. I mean, the guy's speaking right out of my mouth, man. I told you this, Brent.
You're already beat. I mean, my opinion.
Exactly. It's a loser mentality, Brent.
If you don't think players see that in you, if you don't think they do, you're crazy. Players, they are constantly watching your everything, every move you make, body language, what you say to the media, what you say in team meetings. They feed off of that. So if you have any, they're not gonna play for you, Brent, right now against the Chiefs. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, like I get that. I do get that. But like if I'm your agent, I'm telling you, Mike, you can go win 5 division titles in a row in the South. Like you kind of even said, like, I don't know if I can be successful if with Marv Levy in the situation I'm in. Like, you factor those things in. So why wouldn't you factor in the next 3-5 years in a division that looks wide open?
Well, if you don't have a lot of opportunities, I mean, if this is your one and only opportunity to be a head coach, then you got to take what you're going to get.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
I mean, the Buffalo for me was I had turned down or not gotten. I had so many interviews. I started to get worried that teams would think I didn't want to be a head coach. So that was a little bit in why I took the Buffalo job as well. It's because I was running through a lot of interviews and not getting jobs or turning them down. So that, you got to be careful what you wish for. You got to get one of these jobs. They're hard to get.
Yeah, you're never going to come on again if I keep you on, but I'm finishing with this because I appreciate all the insight. It's great. It's fantastic stuff. Again, we don't know how this works in these rooms. If you were in the room in Jacksonville helping hire the coach, which, by the way, your Wednesday golf team could certainly be in that room helping hire the next Jaguars coach. What are you looking for right now? You know Jacksonville. You've watched it. What do they need right now? And I know you're a little bit biased toward the Ben Johnsons and Aaron Glenn's, and so are we, okay? So that's fine. And I think all of Jacksonville is. But from a football coach standpoint, if you're in there doing the interviewing, what are you trying to get here in Jacksonville right now?
I want somebody that, if you recognize some of these teams are going like the Dan Campbell's, previous player like Deion Sanders in Dallas, just previous players where that doesn't automatically mean you're right because you've played the game, you've been in the trenches, you've done what they've done. But it helps when you say this, that they know you've done that. They need a guy that they can absolutely will go to war. I don't like using the word war, but they'll do whatever they have to do for this head coach. The trust is the biggest thing to me, that they trust it. If you can get them to trust you, they'll do anything for you. And if that's the one thing. It's you say it, you better do it. You better back up everything you say. And I think when players see that when you say you're gonna do something and you do it, that earns their respect. And when you get respect from your players, they're gonna do whatever they can not to let you down. So they got to find a guy that it doesn't have to be a former player, but it better be somebody that they can learn to trust, and trust the sooner the better.
Yeah, you set those parameters and you live by them, right? I mean, I always say it to my wife. I always say, hey, don't yell at the kids and promise you're going to ground them for 2 weeks if we're really not going to ground them for 2 weeks.
In Buffalo, I started my rookie year. My first year, we went 0-4, and you don't want to be 0-4 in Buffalo as a rookie coach. Yeah. But I stood up in front of the team and I said, look, I don't have a file that says 0-4 on it that I go to. I said, this is what I know. This is what we're going to do. This is because I know I believe in it. Our staff believes in it. And they saw nothing changed. We ended up winning 9 of the next 11 games. We had to win the last one against Pittsburgh to go to the playoffs. But, if whatever you say to them has to be a consistent message, and it has to be what you deeply believe in. And if you alter anything, it's going to be tough to get them to play the way you want them to play.
Yeah, I'm not in the building every time, but I think you just mentioned a couple of situations, most recently, maybe even a little bit of Doug, and we heard this about Jack Del Rio over the years too. I mean, there's some wavering back. There's gray area sometimes don't be gray area. You got to be, this is who we are, and you got to deliver. And you're seeing that in Detroit and other places.
Yep. I mean, Dan Campbell's the real deal. What you see is what you get. And I feel like that was who I was in all my jobs, not just head coaching jobs.
Well, so is Tom Coughlin, and I hope you beat him on Wednesday. Do you win that golf?
I'll tell you what, it's closer than you think.
Well, he hits like 150 shots at the Gala every year on 17, so he is practiced.
He is so much fun to play with. I have a hard time looking. I told my wife Betsy, I said, I can't picture the hard nose. I know he was, but out on the golf course, I can tell you this: he's very competitive. Very
nice. It does not surprise
me. He's a lot of fun. He's very fun.
Hey, you've been a lot of fun with us. We appreciate it. Sorry to keep you so long, but have a great weekend. Enjoy the football games.
You guys too. Good luck
with
this.
Coach.
Glad I'm not involved with it.
Well, we're glad you're involved with us. That was great insight. We appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
All right. Thanks for having me on. See you too.
All right.
See ya.
That's Mike Malarkey. Man, that was could have been for another 3 hours.
Learned a lot, didn't we, Brent? We learned a lot.
All you care about is being right.
Of course.
I mean, it's amazing.
That's how the show works, man.
It's
like, what's the point of talking if you're not going to be right? You know what I'm saying? People come for you to be right.
Yes.
Told you that.
So much to unpack there. Like, it was great. That was awesome. What a cool, what a process, right? And I think it's important to hear what Coach just said at the end. And believe me, I like Jack, and I like Doug. Mm-hmm. I think that's where some of this goes wrong. I think he just said it. Think about Coughlin. Think about Campbell. Think about the guys, Belichick. Think about the guys that have done well. Mm-hmm. You are who you are. Mike, hey, listen, Mike Malarkey I think it criticized in the 1 year, which we obviously know that's not a long enough time to do anything, but the 1 year for lining up helmets but that's part of that was this is what we do. We pay attention to every detail. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I know to the outside world that seemed goofy and everything else. And a lot of these things seem goofy when you lose, right? I saw an article. I just saw a headline, and it said, this was yesterday. New owners. The headline says new owners, music and meetings, and something else.
Okay.
And it was like this was about the Washington Commanders and how things have changed. And I thought I saw that headline. I was like, okay, if you're not in the playoffs and you don't win a game, and somebody puts that headline out there where you're celebrating music and meetings. Mm-hmm. People, and you go 4-13, and you say in Jacksonville there is music and meetings. You're saying, well, that's why it went wrong, right? So ping pong tables, they all get out, right? That you hear those stories,
get them out.
So, like, some of this stuff is either works when you win, doesn't when you lose. Like, you're going to try things, and I think like Malarkey lined up helmet stuff that people got on at that time were, hey man, if we're attention to detail. And we're winning close games, and we're not having penalties, and well, that's why some of those things, right? And I know you didn't mind that as a player.
I didn't mind it because I got the message, and that's we can take a lot from that great interview we just had with Coach Malarkey, but I mean, one of the biggest things you got to take away is number one is being genuine, and number two is getting that message across. Right? Like, so yeah, I understood the helmets. I know a lot of people in the media didn't, and they're like, what do they do? This is the military? No, it's like, if you have the foresight, if you have the wherewithal to take a helmet, put it in a straight line, and have respect for that, well, then what's going to happen when it's, 4th and 2, the game's on the line, and you got to make sure you don't false step because the ball is coming to your gap. It's the same thing. It's seeing a method to said madness. I think, and I'm not trying to rag on Doug Peterson here, but we talked about this all the time this past season where he was all over the place in terms of the message to the media, in terms of, so sometimes he was really happy, sometimes he was going after Brent, in a steel cage match. Like, we didn't know what Doug Peterson we were going to get, and it was inconsistent. And I think what Coach Malarkey was echoing here is you got to find a guy who, number one, can purvey who he is and be genuine, but number two, keep that consistent message. And that's going to be two things I think we're going to look at here in this coaching process.
I think I brought this up on the show last week again, and there are a lot of things you do well as a coach. I think Mike Malarkey probably thought even in 2012 that he did a lot of good things as a coach, even though you go 2-14. But when things don't go right all in totality, you obviously harp on a little bit more the negative, why it didn't go right. I continue to say this about Doug Peterson's time in Jacksonville. He did a lot of good things, folks. A lot. Yeah. He had to overcome the Urban Meyer stuff. He did a lot of good things. I don't think we should forget that. I think he laid a foundation with some of the players, some of the young players, some people in the organization that will carry on throughout. That's part of this, even as you hand it off to the next person unwillingly, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. But I also think we can see the missteps now by some in Jacksonville. And I tweeted a couple of weeks ago, there was something about gray area and Ben Johnson. And I was like, man, the favorite color in Jacksonville has been gray. Like, you don't know, is it this or is it this? Some of it's cloaked in secrecy. I think that was a problem with Doug in this regime or Trent or whatever. And I would say add one more thing to it. And I gave this example a couple weeks ago, and I've spoken about this a bunch just off the mic. I asked to go back to the interview in London in between weeks. It was either a Wednesday, Friday, whatever. And I asked Doug, I said, what is your identity? What do you want it to be if it's working? And identity is one of these things where usually a coach, if I asked Mike Malarkey that, he would have just answered us, boom, boom, boom. This is who we are. This is what we're all about.
And I guarantee Malarkey would have said what identity is. He's like, you can turn on any single game and guys will be want to playing tough.
Yeah.
No matter if we're up by 20 or down by 20, they'll be playing the same way. That's what his identity was.
And identity and culture can be overused stuff, but it seriously took Doug like 4 minutes to answer that question. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I still came out of the answer and I didn't know. I don't know if he doesn't want to tell us what he tells everybody else or if he just was kind of all over the place. So it indicated to me like, wait a minute. If I still can't, after that answer, or you can't express it or articulate it, how's that for the players? Like, you can do so many good things, and he did. But I just feel like you should be able to answer that question. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't that have been a question you get kind of in the news conference? And what else did we get in the news conference? Hey, Shad and Trent and everybody, hey, are you going to call plays? Yeah, I'm going to call plays. We have that at the opening press conference. I'm going to call plays. Well, for 2 out of the 3 years here in Jacksonville, he didn't. So there's that kind of back and forth stuff where I think it led to more failure than needed to be. But again, I've never done the job. I'm just looking at it from this perspective. But I think what Coach Mularkey says, Ben Johnson, if he's in here, you better know this is what I'm doing. And you better preach it and articulate it and practice it, that you're right, there is no gray area. This is who we are. And we're going to be true to it at 0-4, 4-0. It doesn't change. I think Aaron Glenn, he offers some of that, right? Mm-hmm. I would think. He seems like that. But that's what has made Dan Campbell so successful. And Coach said it, and he said, you got to have people trust. Go back to find the clip in the first, couple weeks, couple whatever of Dan Campbell. There's one that floats around on social media, and he says, guys, I need you to trust me.
Yeah.
I need you to trust me. Like, there's this whole speech about trust me, trust me, trust me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure almost every coach does that.
Of course.
But you got to live it. And to his credit, Dan Campbell has lived it. It's part of the reason why they've changed it and turned it around. It's the reason why he inexplicably goes for it on 4th and 7 sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, he trusts his players.
And he lives it, right? So I guess that is kind of the overarching thing. This can get very convoluted, mm-hmm. but it also can be very simple.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the thing. Like, we get so bogged down with the X's and O's and trying to navigate a locker room full of egos and different ages and everything. But what it comes down to is being genuine and earning that player's trust. It's the way it's always been, whether it's Pop Warner or the NFL.
I'm going to just answer this, Kenny. I couldn't disagree with you more that the Jags' problem has always been the general managers, not the head coach. I don't think that is true. True.
No.
I think it's a dance together most of the time.
Yep.
And I don't think Trent Baalke was necessarily the problem when Urban Meyer was the coach. I don't even know how much of a problem Trent Baalke was this time around in the 3. I just know everybody wants him out.
Yep.
Like, I actually thought about this the other day. I was like, I believe with all these GM jobs open, the GM hiring does like nothing for people. Like, it's not a sexy thing. We don't even know the names. Like, we got to deep dive and research the names.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Rosen made a lot of money. Made some, popularity though.
Oh yeah, there are some,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
doubt.
yeah,
When you do it a really good job.
When you do a great job,
right?
Yeah.
But he's an exception now.
I feel you.
Like, you don't look. I mean, most teams don't look at the GM and be like, "Wow, that guy's right."
Oh, agreed. But I would say in Philly, the GM is. I mean, I don't want to say he's more popular, but I feel like
I think he is.
He's maybe, but I think he's more coveted, more celebrated.
I think you're right.
Than even the head coach, which
I think
is
you're right.
super rare,
very rare. Mm-hmm. So here's my point. Very quick thought. I don't think people in Jacksonville give a damn who the GM of this football team is, as long as it's not Trent Baalke. I don't think you care. Like, I really don't think you care at all, as long as it's not Trent Baalke.
Yeah,
that's why you get sentiment like this from Kenny, because people just want that out.
Yeah, it's the old guard.
They do. And I don't think that has anything to do with the next guy. You'd just be happy with the first move to be able to get whoever it is, even if it's Austen Lane as the GM.
Well, let's go, because it's just saying basically, the old way wasn't working, so we need to go with a new way. And yes, SAD, stay-at-home dad, I agree with you too.
Yeah, whatever. That's Austin's burner account. I can't believe.
That's what can't you believe, man? Come on.
Well, I can believe.
Come on, man.
It was well stated.
Should have never been argued in the first place. But here we are.
I make a lot of money as an agent. I'm still telling my guy, go to the AFC South. All right. Hey, noon hour coming around. Thanks again to Coach Mularkey. We'll talk more about all the things that he said. Plus, we got the envelope game. Who will be the next head coach of the Jaguars? You got to get it in. Send it to sports@actionnewsjax.com. We'll put that actually in the YouTube chat as well. Put it out there on Twitter. But sports@actionnewsjax.com. You got to give us your name. Give us your handle, too, so we can identify you on YouTube or Twitter. And then who will be the next coach? You got to get it in, though, by like tomorrow when this first round of interviews are done.
And keep in mind, my name is Austen.
It is.
If you want to put me down for the head coaching gig. Hey, you never know, man.
I feel like some people after that interview want to bring Malarkey back.
Let's go, right?
We'll be back on the Brent Austen Show. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts. Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Burgers or breakfast, you can get it all at Whataburger. Try something new on the menu or an all-time favorite like the Whataburger Patty Melt. And now you can have breakfast here at Whataburger 12 hours a day, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. Menu items like the bacon taquito, sausage taquito, honey butter chicken biscuit. Whether you work the late night shift, just want a snack early in the morning to get your day started, or a little pick-me-up late in the morning, 12 hours a day, breakfast served, 11 p.m. until 11 a.m. A dozen locations in Jacksonville. You can order pickup or delivery and download the Whataburger app. New rewards members get free Whataburger items when placing their first online order. Just download the app. And for us coffee drinkers, Whataburger has all new hot coffee and iced coffee too. Satisfy that coffee craving at Whataburger 24/7, and it comes in a variety of flavors. Burgers, breakfast, coffee, and so much more. Whataburger, just like you like it.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jag Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, don't forget to check out Whataburger this weekend. I know Austin will on Sunday, usually a stopping point. Whataburger Rewards members.
I'll be there Sunday, too.
Oh, really? Are you going to go bring chicken and rice?
Yeah, you're just thinking actually eat there?
Not on the weekend.
You're not sitting by me with that chicken and rice.
Yes, sir. I'll be at the one at the beach.
Be a part of the Whataburger Rewards program as well. Check it out. All the different locations, all the newest things on the menu, and in the mainstays as well. That's what has Ronan and Austin going on Sundays each and every week to Whataburger. And you can, too, of course, Whataburger Wednesdays each and every week on this show, Brent and Austin, on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. That was fun. Still kind of, I'm still thinking through everything that Coach said there.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff. Hey, let's talk about the NFL games for a minute. I want to get the we have to do our envelope as well here today on the show. So I'll go get them from the office. Ooh. And so we got to write ours in. We're building the box to put them in. Again, send them in, sports@actionnewsjax.com. Hamby, if you get a chance, or I can do it actually in the chat, I'll put it in as well.
Hey, Brent, speaking of, because we're going to make picks.
Yeah?
Who won the picks?
Good point.
Did we win?
We never know that. Like
we
actually, Casey has a spreadsheet.
I know. I pulled it up the other day, and it was incomplete.
Oh, was it? Well, but it was pretty like for us. That's pretty complete. Like he probably only has to get a couple more. Yeah, we have to figure that out
because we need to. I think.
Listen, you're the damn producer, not me.
Hamby.
Like, don't ask me.
Yep.
You're the producer,
That's
Hamby.
not a bad call.
Do your job.
Also, don't be afraid to bring back like our NFL picks that we each had. You know, like the playoffs and everything. Who won that one?
Well, that'll be later.
Whoa.
Or do we want to do it now?
Well, I mean, the playoff teams are in place. Like, I feel like,
folks, we are the worst in the history of sports, radio, streaming, TV at paying off like picks. We do this every year. It's like, hey, let's go do MLB picks, and then we never visit them.
Yep,
at the end.
That's correct.
And we always leave it open ended. Like I feel like Casey was doing a good job with this.
It was immaculate.
So I think we can get still to a final conclusion. Now we haven't picked during the playoffs to be in fairness, which we probably could have and should have.
Should have been consistent.
But maybe we'll just finish with a Super Bowl champ. Everybody picks theirs, and then we'll have it after that.
Okay.
That week. So like Super Bowl week, all the shows make their pick, and then we'll have the tally right after that.
But like, is it like bonus points for the Super Bowl winner or not? Because I feel like we might be like out ahead. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we're doing pretty good. But yeah, we'll see.
It wasn't like we were running away at one time.
After the last full tally that we had was week 16 with 2 games to go, and we were up 2 games.
Well, I can
I
fudge
thought
the
we were up by
numbers.
more than okay.
I can fudge the numbers too if we really need to.
I mean, it's whatever. That's kind of boring radio, huh?
I mean, radio is boring.
That's why we stream.
That's why we stream.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Should that be like a liner? Should we get
radio's
the radio
boring?
liner?
That's why we
radio's
stream.
Boring. That's why we stream.
That's why we stream.
That might be good.
Yeah, for sure. I like that.
Like a line?
I like that. Could we actually? Because we got okay. So radio, obviously, you can play music, duh. But like, but we can't do it here, right? Like you can't play it so much where the YouTube will get on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so like
There
are different things. Like you have to pay. I don't know if it's still like ASCAP is kind of like the licensing on music.
ASCAP?
That was like used to be a thing, I think, or BMI or something like that.
No, it's
You've
called
never heard of
ASCAP.
those?
I've never heard of ASCAP, but I like it.
Yeah, so basically
That's a cap.
what stations do is they pay
Yeah.
a rights fee
Okay.
for all that music, for like licensed music, and anybody can use it.
Gotcha.
Well, that's very expensive. So like on the radio side, and we're on ESPN 690, they have 8 stations. Like that's their world. They have to do that. So
Okay.
that when you distribute that through the 8 stations, we could use it.
Get your money's worth.
But in TV, we used to have the ability to do that. But I don't think in TV now we are allowed, or there might be like a small length of actual music, popular music that you would hear on a radio that we can play.
Hamby, your job now, you're just going to hum stuff.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Brother plays the drums. I mean, we can play there's music that we can use.
I hear you. Yeah, it's in like the whatever you call it.
I don't even know what. Yeah,
library.
We got a
It's
library
like-
of music that we can use.
Correct. I want Hamby to hum it instead.
All right, NFL playoffs. You excited about them?
Of course. Yeah. How can you not be, man?
Why? Because most of the playoffs have sucked. Why would you be?
I mean, betting. Yeah, I'm excited.
My Hard Rock app is down. Like it's not.
Ooh, you had to see that.
As good as it should be. So that doesn't excite me as much.
Okay.
No, but
Well, who did you call a dumbass from the coach? I mean, I felt like you lost your ass. And
I didn't have. That had
oh,
nothing
nothing to do with it.
No, it's just
You were just really upset with
clock management stuff. Is
Clock
drives me nuts.
management,
In
okay.
fact, in the interview room, I'd be asking about clock management.
I like that. I like that a lot.
That's what I would be. I'd be the guy in the room asking about clock management. Can we stop? Can we get better than the league at clock management?
PFF should have a
should.
grade of
should.
best clock managers.
They should.
Yep.
All right. So what do we have? We have the Ravens and the Bills.
Yes.
It's going to be snowy and cold.
Must see TV
Does
there.
that change anything? Both teams are built for that.
No.
But Buffalo's used to that even more than Baltimore.
I mean, yeah, Buffalo's more used to it, but I also feel like Derrick Henry is like the cold weather running back. And they have quarterbacks who can both run. Now, obviously Josh Allen's a little more lower the shoulder run. Lamar Jackson's a little more of like the jukey, break your ankles type of runner. But I mean, it's very comparable. So that's why I see like this game's almost a coin flip.
Who do you like?
I lean towards Baltimore. Because I'm on Derrick Henry.
It's interesting. You say, see, I kind of lean Baltimore because of Lamar.
No,
but more than Derrick.
Lamar wouldn't. If you pick the Ravens, Lamar wouldn't be the reason. Derrick Henry would be the reason.
This is now the Derrick Henry show.
I mean, the guy that's
Lamar's
got
not been good
45
in the
touchdowns
playoffs.
this year. Yeah, he wouldn't be the reason.
Yeah, he's not.
But keep in mind, man. Hey, but listen, we talked about this. This whole season, Derrick Henry has kind of like he's been used, but he's been on the shelf a little bit
That's
too.
true.
And now you're seeing the full effect of Derrick Henry. So yeah, I think it's going to be the Derrick Henry show once again. Cold weather, snow on the ground. Dude's made for it. Dude's built for it. Tough. Bulls are built for it. Tough. Yeah, I have the Ravens.
Lamar Jackson passer rate in playoff game his career passer rating of 81 with 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns, 6 picks.
I listen. I've been on that train for a long time. I've questioned that about Lamar. I just also feel like he's playing at a better level, and he's still, to me, is a. And listen, I love Derrick. I just think he's a bigger X factor because at least you know what Derrick is going to do. You have no idea. Like the defense is almost on eggshells when you're facing Lamar, and I do wonder if weather factors in here. If it is snowing, does that limit his ability and his slippage and all that kind of stuff? But I just think when you look at him go back and drop back, you have no idea if he's just going to go take a 4, 5, 6 yard pickup. You have no idea if he's about to go for 32 or if he's just going to extend a play for 6 seconds and find Isaiah Likely over the middle because you can't defend anybody for that long. I think he puts so much doubt in the defense and what you can trust you normally do because he puts you on edge. And I think Josh Allen does that a bit, but not like Lamar. I think Lamar is the one guy left that does that even more than a Patrick Mahomes because he's so explosive in the run game and can just get a chunk. And they look what the way they started out of the gates. It shocked me how much they ran him the other day. And they put it right into the minds of whoever the heck they played in that game. They were just like, hey, we're going to run them, and you have to defend this right away, and then we'll open up Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But listen, I'm not totally, I guess I am disagreeing with you a little bit. I just think I'm way more scared of Lamar Jackson if I'm Buffalo than I am of Derrick Henry.
All right.
We'll see. Are they fit? See, Buffalo's defense, is Buffalo's defense the worst left in it?
I mean, probably the Lions, right?
Oh, yeah, the Lions.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can Buffalo's defense physically stack up with Henry and limit the run?
I mean, I don't know if anybody can really stack up against Derrick Henry in the run. I don't know. I gotta see Buffalo's defense again because I know they got Miller coming back now and everything, but I think you can blitz and stuff, but I just think Derrick Henry's on a different level, man. So can they stack up? I think that Derrick Henry is an unstoppable force that you can only hope to contain.
Good game. I think this game has a chance to be the best game of the playoffs, better than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair. Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Do you think the winner? Well, you don't because you have Kansas City and you just want to be right. Hammy? Do you think?
What is this infatuation? You want to be like? Don't you want to be right? Don't you enjoy being right?
Well, I know, but things change. I don't care about being right all the time.
No. Oh,
I do.
Yeah, I mean it's competition, man. That's the only reason why I do this show. Like this is a competition to me. I like you guys, but I'm trying to beat you.
I get it.
Yeah, Hammy gets it. That's how sports radio is, man. Sorry,
I hope the Bills
sports
win.
streaming. Huh?
I hope the Bills win just because y'all said the Ravens. No problem.
Hammy's still waiting for that Jaguars Super Bowl since he picked them to go. Yikes!
Somebody had to, man.
Yikes!
I had the Jets.
And the Cowboys. It's all good, though. I think I can't remember who we all picked. I don't know, man. I can't remember.
Hey, when you have the Jets and the Cowboys, you lose focus on trying to be right.
That's a good point, man. You just try to defer, hoping nobody brings it up again.
We just bring up conversation.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I just play the point here.
Yeah. To be fair, both those teams kind of just. Oh my god! I mean, what the hell?
The Jags weren't alone in their disappointment, though. Is pretty true this season.
Guys, before we pick the other 3 playoff games, I think I want to show you something that just popped up. It's something else that a lot of people were probably right about, and here it is. Check it.
Oh, good. You found that. Awesome. That is well. Listen, Marcel wasn't going anywhere. I know you really want to get that up, but we might see that this is the new weight room. He popped over to UNF and at Hodges Stadium. We told you about this just moments ago. It's some of the upgrades at Hodges, and they announced that this morning. And somebody get in there and work.
That's a good point. Those weights look pretty clean right now. Start clinking them together a little bit, everybody.
It's a big deal, though, right? I mean, anytime you can
70, 80. Ooh, I saw 110.
Over 300 athletes. We'll get to use this stuff. Oh, plyo. Ugh.
You okay?
Yeah, I just pulled a hammy thinking about it. What's your favorite weight room exercise? You're the only one that does it on a consistent basis. Oh, I like that logo.
I mean, honestly, if I'm trying to show off in front of the members at the Y, all the 60-year-old ladies staring at me. What's up? What? It's the YMCA.
Yeah, true. Good
okay,
point.
then. Okay.
I get it.
Yeah. Go and give me the box jump, Brent.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How high do you put that?
High enough. High enough to get some gawks. You know what I'm saying?
Get people looking.
High enough to get some gawks. High enough where maybe a lady today, 70 years old, elliptical, had to get off the elliptical and kind of look around the corner to see Big Oss doing the high jump.
Doing all 4 of those right there?
Hamby. Say it again?
We're doing all 4 of those?
Hey. Could go ahead and stack on top of each other, yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
I saw you jump into the bed of your pickup truck, so.
Okay, now almost, and I kept it in there, but almost tore my hip doing that, by the way. Didn't warm up or anything. Jumping in vans wasn't the best thing to do, and that parking lot is not, even, but had to do it for the gram, Brent.
I'll tell you what, Marcel right now, he's taking us over there. He probably wants to get a workout in. High-protein guy, get your workout in each and every day. Probably already got it in this morning. So he's giving us a look over there live at the University of North Florida Hodges Stadium and the new renovations and upgrades that they have over there and just completed. It looks great. At first, when I saw this announcement, I was like, oh, they're going to do it. And then I was like, oh, no, it's already done. The one thing about the weight room that I don't like is the fact that I feel like everybody is looking at me, even though I know they're not.
Yeah, for sure.
But you feel like people I'm like, I'm going to just go in my own corner and work out by myself. Now, if I looked like you, I'd want everybody looking at me. And they got everything over there. Can we use that?
Oh, don't even put that in the atmosphere. But
Actually,
if we can use that, it's over.
Well, because I call ESPN Plus games, and so over the years, like I actually had a card where I could use their indoor student center. They have a track and a gym, and I've done it before.
Hey, Brent, gonna give me a little. Oh, and they got the assault bikes. Yep, get me in there. I'm done.
There. That's a leg press.
I'm done.
Oh, the leg press machine.
They have the Rogue assault bikes. It's over. Brent, give me that card right now. I'm going there.
I always like the leg press machine. One, because I think I could do like a reasonable amount, but it always felt like that's the most weight you could do any exercise with is the leg press machine.
Yes, without a doubt.
That's where you could stack it up and look like you were doing something.
Brent, go give me that card right now. They have the assault. That's all I need.
What is that? An assault bike?
The assault bike, yeah. That's the closest thing you can feel to being in a fight is pedaling that thing extremely fast.
Really?
Sorry, old ladies at the YMCA. Your boy's going someplace else because they have everything I need right here.
It's a good thing they don't call it the attack bike because you never want to know what that looks like in terms of the Jags and Ryan Nielsen's defense.
Yikes!
Assault. We'll put on a hat instead.
The assault. Yeah.
Assault.
Oh man, they got so that's the pit bull squat thing. Is Marcel helping me right now?
Probably.
Yeah. So you can you put that belt. Yeah, man. So you put that belt there, put a couple plates on each side, and then you can do the squats with the belt. Amazing.
Wow.
You gonna give me a card or not? You're not gonna. It's fine.
Probably not.
That's fine. That's all good.
You got one at the Y and stuff, and you work out at like Las Vegas and Miami gyms.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you should teach it over there.
By the way, Miami, you keep up in appearances, man. Miami's different. The gym's there.
You got to look good when you go to the gym.
Dude, everyone's like photoshopped in Miami gyms.
Yeah. Treadmill. I've never owned a treadmill.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like everybody's owned a treadmill?
I feel like, but
hey, you got a treadmill? You're going to get a Peloton bike on that registry?
He's go outside, though, right?
No.
He's go outside and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's go outside. Jacob's, and the Jacob's ladder. Brent, you've been on Jacob's ladder.
No, what does that do?
So this is like, it's kind of like you're climbing up a mountain, basically. So there's a belt, and you set it to your height, and then you get, Marcel, let's take us for a little demo if you want. And then you get on there, and you use your feet and your hands, you start climbing. Oh, great workout. Great.
So it moves?
Yeah, great low impact workout. And probably the most bang for your buck in terms of getting your heart rate up with not a lot of exertion. Man, I should be a gym trainer, though, huh?
You really should. Like, we should have gone over there and just tried all this stuff out.
That's a good point.
But anyway.
Exertion.
Good upgrades over at Hodges
my big
Stadium.
word of the
By
day.
the way, check. You can't really use it and check it out, but good stuff.
Hey, does this look cool? You guys can't touch it, but check this out.
You can if you send your kids to UNF.
There we go.
To play athletics.
Good point. A lot of medicine balls, physio balls, yeah.
And we'll see you over there tomorrow, by the way, for the game at UNF Arena, North Alabama. And UNF, check out UNFospreys.com for more on that story and schedules and results and tickets and everything else. Fun atmosphere last night at the UNF game. All right, Bills, Ravens. So you're picking the Ravens.
Give me the Ravens.
Hamby?
I got the Bills.
Brent, the tiebreaker.
Man, this is so hard to pick. This is a hard one to pick.
Does this count as picks or no?
What do you want to do it again later?
No, like, is this going against for our record against the other shows?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay,
yeah.
No problem. Then pick whoever you want.
I just thought you wanted to pick again at the end of the show.
No.
It's 18.
To be fair, I thought we were doing picks here, too, against other. Yeah, okay. Hamby was in the right there. I don't agree with him a lot.
You thought we were doing collective.
Yeah. That's why I said tiebreaker. Yeah.
I see. I don't think that's the case, so we're just going to go out on our own here. And I think I am taking Baltimore.
Okay.
I think it's their time.
Good to have you, Brent.
But I'll tell you what do we start saying about Buffalo if they lose this game? At home, they lost against Kansas City in this divisional round last year. They lose. What else do you want if you're Baltimore? You got snow, you got cold, you got home, you got a good team. Like, are they ever going to win?
Yeah, but to be fair, Brent, I think you can make an argument for Baltimore if they lose this game. Because that's like,
same thing.
Can Lamar win the big one, right? Well, they had Derrick Henry. They had all the tools to be. How come they? It's crazy because this game is the biggest coin flip, and I feel like the loser of this game is going to get the most scrutiny.
They are.
Unless Kansas City leaves.
It feels a bit unfair the way the draw happened, doesn't it?
It does. This is Ohio State, Oregon again. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
And you are just trying to be right today on everything.
What?
Let's stay in the AFC.
What are you talking about? No, because I said I wasn't even trying to be right there. I was just saying it wasn't fair that Ohio State had to play Oregon. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be right.
How about Houston and Kansas City? Any chance for Houston?
You think so?
I do. I think they're going to win.
I don't think so.
why do I still think they're going to win? I'm insane.
Yeah.
They haven't played a snap of football in 24 days, guys.
Hammy, do we have weather reports here? Is this going to be like snowy in Kansas City?
I don't think snow in Kansas City. I haven't heard it's cold, though, because it's going to be cold everywhere.
Sure.
So,
well, because I was going to ask, like, would a snow game actually benefit Houston with Joe Mixon? Because who does, I guess,
play indoors.
Is Pacheco back?
It's going to be 15 degrees to 30, 15 to 30 tomorrow.
Oh, it's
I don't think that matters for Houston as much as, like, if it was snow, I wouldn't like them. I think because they play indoors and everything, they're not used to playing the AFC South. They're not a snow team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. They play defense and they can run the football. That helps.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to remember, Stroud is an Ohio State guy. He's played in some cold, but I don't think he's South. They're not. I don't know. Maybe he is. You said. Do you think he played in a lot of snow games up there in Ohio State? Probably played in cold games. I mean, listen, not a lot of guys have snow games on their resume to begin with, but Patrick Mahomes does. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like, Patrick Mahomes has that. So I don't think the elements aid Houston here.
Okay.
I think their defense is what separates them. I think the first 10 minutes of this game are huge. If Houston avoids what happened against the Chargers, because the Chargers should have been up by double digits, game over.
Right. Correct.
If Kansas City does that, game is over. Mm-hmm. But I think if Houston can hang in that first 10 minutes, I think you're going to see a score that, don't you have to predict the score is going to be high teens, low 20s at best, both these defenses, which puts Stroud and the Texans right in the mix.
It just scares me how much time Andrew Reid's had to prepare for this.
It should. Listen, those things, I get it.
Which I don't get. There has to be a report one day of why he's so good at it.
He's a genius. I mean, Doug Peterson calls him a genius.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of evidence to say so. I just want to make it clear. I'm not like rooting for Houston, although I can't say I'm rooting for Kansas City either.
It's crazy how they become the villain.
I just feel like Houston, I feel like they're going to take the next step this one. Their defense is really good. I don't think people talk about it enough. Their secondary's good. Al-Shaair, as much as we don't like him, he's a good backer. Yeah. And that front is strong. So... And you said it. They got Mixon and they got Nico Collins to come up and make big plays. And it doesn't matter how you defend him. He seems like he gets 100 every time anyway. And Stroud just has to not look like he did in the first 28 minutes of that game against the Chargers. Because he looked like crap.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden turned it around on a fluky play and then did look a lot better.
Yeah.
So you guys, I assume, both taking the Chiefs. I'm going to take Houston in an upset.
Okay.
Which I think would pave the way for a Buffalo and a Baltimore team to then easily go into the Super Bowl. I'm not saying easily, but go into the Super Bowl. On the other side of things, man, I like the Rams going into this game, and now the snow changes it totally for me. I don't like Stafford in the snow. I don't like the idea of McVay's team in the snow. I don't feel like they fit the. I think there's an advantage here heavily. I don't know what the line is done, but if the forecast is correct, I would have moved that line by 3 points once I saw the forecast, if it holds up.
Yeah.
Because I really thought the Rams had a chance here, and now I don't think they do.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you here. I mean, I understand. And this is the thing about the Rams. We think of them, well, at least
6.5 right now.
-6.5? Yeah.
Did that move?
I don't know what the initial line was.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm sure it did.
We think of the Rams of like this pass-happy, dynamic team, and they're smash mouth, man. Like they pound the rock with Kyren Williams. But to echo your point, Brent, like playing a game outdoors in Philly in the cold, coming from LA, Matthew Stafford. I mean, against and listen, say what you want about the Eagles and how Sirianni operates things. Like they do have an identity, and they're a physical, nasty type of team. And this weather is kind of made for that team. So I'm picking the Eagles here.
Ooh, Stafford is 1-8 in games played outdoors in the snow or rain.
Oh, he's awful. Yeah, it's like 71%.
Come on,
or 71
Georgia,
rating.
though, man.
Yeah.
It's at the Georgia. Come on now.
Man,
we going against your guy in
Rams
Georgia.
Too.
Yeah, you want to pick the Rams.
Of course. Yes, I want to pick the Rams.
It's hard to pick the Rams in this setting. They are not built. They don't strike me as that kind of team. Their defense is really coming on. Like you said, Kyren Williams, I should probably give him more credit for being able to pound the rock in this kind of game.
Yeah.
But it just, even I give an advantage. This is how weird it is. Stafford is 10 times the quarterback, in my opinion, than Jalen Hurts is. but I give Hurts the advantage in this game.
Yeah.
If it's snowing a couple inches.
Like you wanted the Rams defense to be able to pin their rears back and rush the passer. That's when they're at their best. That's what we saw last week against the Vikings. They're probably not going to be able to do that at any point because the most they'll be up in a game like this is probably 3 or 7, and running is still going to be the Eagles' way to move the football.
Yeah, wild. All right, so I guess we're going Eagles.
Yeah.
Commanders have any chance to beat a Lions team depleted? Again, you said it. Worst defense. I know Aaron Glenn's done a great job. But really, on paper, the worst defense left in this postseason. And defense certainly matters this time of year.
So it's wild. One of my best friends, the guy I live with, who's never around, but sometimes he's around, is a giant Lions fan. And he is nervous for this game.
Is he?
He's nervous for this game because, number one, the Commanders have always seemed to have the Lions' numbers if you look at the record and everything. Mm-hmm. But number two, it's the dynamic offense of Washington. Right, and what it's going to come down to is we know Detroit can score, but can Detroit stop anybody? And that's what it comes down to, and we'll see. But I like the Lions here. I really do. I think, I wouldn't be surprised. I understand you can get a track meet if you're the Detroit Lions, but I think they try to implement more physicality. Montgomery, I think, is back, right? That's a big get. So I think they just try to pound the rock, shove it down Washington's throat. I have Detroit winning.
Yeah, listen, I've got Detroit winning for 2 reasons, really. At the end of the day, Washington has played with some magic this year, and that includes Jaden Daniels.
Rookie quarterback.
The rookie quarterback doesn't usually win on the road twice. It doesn't usually win on the road once. Forget about twice. So I'm going to play the trend here. And the other thing is, let's be honest, and you heard it from Mike Malarkey too, but we have seen this. This is crystal clear. This is a football team in Detroit more than any other team. And Baltimore can feel like it. Three-peat Kansas City can feel like it. Buffalo can feel like, hey, this is my time. The Eagles even have a little bit of this in them, but nobody has as much in it as this Detroit team looks like they are on a mission.
Yeah.
I mean, they know this is their time. Now, can they live up to it? We'll find out. But I do think they get a big advantage playing the team that upset the Bucs in the first round and playing a rookie quarterback. I think Aaron Glenn will have Jaden Daniels in shambles.
Before Hemby picks, if Jaden Daniels somehow wins this game, think of the narrative that C.J. Stroud had his rookie year. What's the narrative going to be like if Daniels takes his team to an NFC championship? I mean, are we talking like he's a top 7 quarterback in the league, top 6?
Probably. That's what the narrative would probably be.
How can you deny that?
If he beats the Lions especially?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be different if he beat the Rams to go to the NFC Championship in round 2.
I don't even know who you go back to in this context. Brady did it in year 2. He wasn't a starter. It was his first year, but he actually didn't have the whole season.
Have we seen it before? I'm sure we've seen it before.
Ben Roethlisberger, was that a year 2 thing? Again, a lot of guys have gone year 2. Year 2 has been a big jump. MVP, all this kind of stuff. But year 1 out of the gates is not a common thing. I can't even... did Marino? Marino was 83, then 84. It wasn't his rookie season. I believe it was his second season that got the Dolphins to the Super Bowl, their one and only. We'd have to look it up. But
Wilson, maybe? Russell Wilson?
Maybe. There's just not a lot of evidence to say so. So I think you're right. I think you boom.
Crazy.
And keep in mind, C.J. Stroud did win a playoff game last year. So you're right. He is in that same boat right now as like a C.J. Stroud. And now we've seen kind of, again, C.J. Stroud is not at a miserable year by statistic or now their record.
Warner, though, right?
Was Kurt Warner first year?
First year.
I was thinking Kurt Warner, but again, he even felt different because he was 30 years old and had bagged groceries and all this other stuff. Jaden Daniels is 22 years old.
No, it was his second year.
Was it? See, second years are big.
It's technically still his rookie year because he wasn't on the team all of 1998. He's a weird case.
Well, okay, yeah, that's a totally different case to begin with. But again, we have there's evidence of the Marinos, the Mahomeses, even Lamar's year 2 was I think his MVP year. There's a lot of evidence there, but year 1 is totally different.
It'll be unreal. Let's just say this: if somehow Washington wins, it'll be unreal, and the hype for Jay and Daniels will be matched with that.
Yeah, it's a fun team. By the way, the one thing about it, easy to root for teams here in Detroit and Washington. For sure. Fun stories, both of them. But I'd almost feel bad at this stage if the Lions got upset. Now, next week is one thing.
Yeah.
That's hard. To get to the Super Bowl, I get all that stuff. But to not get back to the NFC Championship game,
everything that we've seen from them,
yeah, you'd kind of be like, damn, man, if they can't do it, how the hell hard is this to do, right?
For sure.
I mean, and we know it's hard.
Yeah.
We know you have to have a lot of things go your way.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the next step. And the next step for Washington, it feels like their journey of year one under Dan Quinn and Jane Daniels is about to come to an end. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out. All right, so did we get all the games?
I think
we missed one?
Missed one, didn't we?
No, that was it.
That was it?
Yeah, that was it. There was only 4.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll get to the national championship game in a bit because we won't have a show on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, unless there's some kind of news that breaks. But we'll be back with you on Tuesday and talk about the national championship and everything else. We're not going anywhere yet. We've still got the envelope game. We're way behind on breaks because of our long interview with Mike Malarkey. So let's hit one here on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network, the Brent Austen Show on a Friday. Hope you're having a good one, everybody, and hope you have a fantastic weekend as well. We're done at 1, so don't go anywhere just yet.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. If you need a quality play this football season at your home, call That One Painter First Coast. Locally owned and operated, experienced employees, no builder-grade materials. And there's more, and for that, we throw it to Noah Schlicksup. That One Painter First Coast can apparently help your kicking game, too.
Well, after my failure on skinny sticks last year on Creekside game day, I've spent a lot of time out here at Creekside practicing my kicks. There's only one issue. How is that even possible? The good news is I know exactly who can help. That One Painter can handle all your painting needs, from field goal posts to cabinets to stucco. They got you covered. Though they may not be able to help with my kicking, they can certainly help with the posts. Call That One Painter First Coast today for all your painting needs at 904-495-1373.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
Is it in the dying moments?
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Monday, Hamby. Monday, we finally find out who gets one of the most mediocre trophies in all of sports. Nevertheless, it's going to be an exciting game. 8 versus 7, just like we drew it up. Just like we drew it up. Non-conference winners, just like they drew it up.
Yep.
Team got beat by NIU, just like they drew it up.
Yep.
Team got beat by Michigan, who, was whatever, just like they drew it up. Okay? Just like we all wanted. No SEC teams, just like they drew it up, Hamby. Okay? Going down Monday. And me personally, and I can't speak on this enough, they should make TED Talks. They should make... They should just let this dude run a 30-minute assembly of how to win people over. Because Marcus Freeman has essentially made me like Notre Dame when, the past, since I was born, I feel like, so we'll call it the past 36 years of life, I could have cared less about Notre Dame. Didn't like Notre Dame. They're like the New York Yankees. And Marcus Freeman, with his messaging, with the way that he carries himself, has single-handedly turned that program around and turned the perception around, I feel like, of what it means to be a fan of Notre Dame football. So, I'm taking Notre Dame. I'm anti-Ryan Day. Don't like him. Stop dyeing the beard. just be graceful and age naturally, okay? You don't got to keep up with the Joneses for Instagram. You're a football coach, okay? So just abide by it. Stop dyeing that beard black. And I'll be going for Notre Dame.
Everybody's going for Notre Dame, it feels like. But will they win it is another thing. I feel like there's a lot of hope instead of reality.
They're going to win the football game.
Tell them, Hamby.
Ohio State's played their best game of the year. They did that against Oregon. Notre Dame has not yet done that.
Ooh.
Name me a team that's most similar to how Michigan plays football than Notre Dame.
Ooh.
Doesn't rely on the passing game almost at all. Great running game, great defensively, decent special teams. It's Notre Dame. There's not a team in the field that's a worse matchup for Ohio State than Notre Dame is. If anybody's going to beat them, as hot as they are, it's going to be Notre Dame. Ryan Day. Give me a Ryan Day absolute fluke, absolute disaster, clock management situation with 30 seconds to go.
Oh, that'd be
to give Marcus Freeman the win.
That'd be the chef's kiss.
I hate Notre Dame.
All right, I just tried to put. Sorry, I love that. I hate Notre Dame.
And here's the cliff notes. I hate Notre Dame.
Hey, can I delete a message on the YouTube chat?
Yes.
What?
Or I can.
Well, yeah, but I didn't. I signed in under. I guess I was signed in Ty's YouTube link. It doesn't matter, but I just put it under. I'm not under Action Sports Jacks, and so the one that says Tyler Martineau on it for the envelope game now says his name instead of. I don't know if that makes a difference or matters, but
I don't see it.
Yeah,
you don't see it on the chat.
Nope,
I don't see it.
Unless you just did it.
I just did it a couple moments ago.
Oh, still don't see it. But anyway.
But it is wild, though. I do think people are. I get everything you guys are saying. I can't add much more to it, other than I just think the sentiment is toward. It's funny to see how Ohio State is so hated.
Yeah,
Here's what I like about this matchup, and I think it's going to be the matchup. can the corners of Notre Dame, who are really good, can they handle the receivers of Ohio State? Will you give them help? I don't think they're going to always give them help. And when you don't give them help, can they stop them? Can they hang with them? And when that happens, or if it doesn't happen, can Will Howard hit him? Like, big play potential in this game is astronomical, in my opinion. One, because of that matchup, but also because Notre Dame has lived by the big play anyway all year. And they got the big interception, but they really didn't have like some crazy play in that last game. That was like a 94-yard kick return or something. I mean, they have really lived by those kind of plays this season. It's been unbelievable how many of those they've had. It's been magical in that sense to go along with a good defense.
The 98-yarder against Indiana. You're talking about
all of them.
Yeah. And then the kickoff return against Georgia.
Yeah, so you have to.
They might not have had a play over 20 yards against Penn State.
Yeah, they might not have. Can you, Jeremiah Love, obviously he's banged up, but man, is he good. He is good. Yep. Can you match the physical presence of Ohio State, which I feel like Notre Dame can do that in the trenches? They've been very good this year in that area. Mm-hmm. I think the other big question for me is, can you outplay Will Howard at the quarterback position? And I don't know if he can.
Outplay Will Howard? I'm not sold on Will Howard, Brent.
Well, I'm not sold on any of the quarterbacks that have been in this dance, quite
Riley
frankly.
Leonard.
But Riley Leonard, as a thrower of the football, has been okay. I think they'll run the heck out of him.
Yeah.
Right?
He's going to throw it at least.
But I actually thought they would run him a little bit more earlier in the game against Penn State, and they didn't.
He still finished with 20.
He ended up getting more, yeah. So I think it's that kind of balance. And can he hit the big shot? Because he also made some pretty bad throws in that game.
Tried to lose as a game.
Right? So, I'm not telling you Will Howard's all world. I'm just saying Riley Leonard is not. I feel like the advantage is still on Ohio State's side, obviously in the passing game. Sure. I think it's crystal clear.
No, I agree in the passing game, but also I feel like Will Howard can get rattled a lot more. Like, if you get after him early, he can make mistakes then. Like, he has shown the ability, like, when it's crunch time and big moments, you don't necessarily make all the best plays.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun game. That's Monday night, by the way. And again, the reason why we're talking about that a little bit more at length, we will be off on Monday morning, barring any news on the Jags front. So got some great football coming up, hopefully Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night. I hope we get a good game. I hope we don't get the blowout kind of game in the national championship. There's always a risk for that in any game, and it seems like in some of these big games, there's a little bit more risk of the high turnover rate, and you just don't play well. You come out shell-shocked. You don't handle the moment. All those things. It's just not your day. It does happen. I think this week, though, we have a real chance to get some good football games. I think even the Commanders, are they the biggest underdog?
Yes.
Or is Houston? No, I think both those games are still going to be close, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I would say Washington's got probably the biggest underdog.
Yeah, so I think they're still going to be good games, though.
Kansas City is at -8. Lions are -9.5.
Yeah, I get it. I'm actually a little surprised Kansas. I shouldn't say it. I get the line in the Kansas City game, in part because Kansas City doesn't really blow anybody out. They just win a lot of close games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the trend would say, why would you make the line too much? I do think there's a blowout potential with Detroit. I mean, if they're cooking like they've been and the rookie has a rough day, you certainly bring that in.
True.
I think Baltimore-Buffalo game is going to be fantastic. And who's going to make the play at the end? Which one am I missing? Oh, Eagles game. I don't know. I guess you could get a blowout in that one. I mean, if the Rams don't handle that weather.
Yeah, with Saquon, you could put some points up pretty quickly.
It might not be like 40-something because of the snow, but it might be one of those that feels like a blowout even though it's 20-3.
For sure.
You know? Mm-hmm. So it could get a little bit of that. Where are we by the end of the weekend, guys, or when we come back on Tuesday on the Jags coaching search? What's your feel? 10 interviews will be in the books. Then what? Do we get 5 in the second round? Do we start hearing about that?
I would probably say
interviews 3.
I would say 4. I think the number's gonna be 4. I don't know why. Just
throwing a number out.
Yeah, throw a number out there.
All right, who?
Okay, I think Ben Johnson. I think Liam Cohen. I think Glenn, and I think Robert Saleh.
Amby, what you got?
Sorry, these are the 3 teams that are going to get a second.
These are the guys that are going to get a second interview with the Jags.
And Austin's, your three were.
He said
I said four.
He said Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, and Robert Saleh.
Yeah, I think that I'll say no on Saleh. I say the other three, yes. So Glenn, Johnson, Cohen, and I'm going to throw in Joe Brady and get in a second. I feel like he might be the one that they know the least about, who might be the most intriguing.
Yeah, now I got to answer my own question.
There you go.
I think it's definitely Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Now, the only thing that shakes that off is like if Aaron Glenn gets hired to be like the Jets guy already, if they make a move quick.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. I don't feel like the Jags are making a move quick on that. But I think the Jets could, or somebody like that could, if they're dialed in.
Or if the rumors are true that Raiders are going to get Ben Johnson.
Or McCarthy to Chicago. Sure. I think there's a lot of smoke on that one. Again, I don't believe any of this stuff, honestly. But there is a lot of smoke that way.
Okay.
I would say Glenn, Ben Johnson. I actually do think Saleh. Cohen.
Okay.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
What's okay to say the same thing you said?
Of course, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. You were very dramatic with that. That was like...
I didn't want to be what you said, but I'm just trying to think.
There was so much tension, but I was hanging on every single word you were saying.
I almost was. Oh, you know what I almost did is say, I'm just bringing the 5 offensive guys back. But I actually do think they're highly interested in Saleh and Glenn, too.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. So then they're going to have to eliminate some of these offensive guys somewhere along the way. Mm-hmm. So Monken and Brady get Brady a little bit too young, 35 years old.
Maybe Washington wins and all of a sudden Kingsbury gets called.
Well, and that was going to be another part of it. Is there a surprise? I wouldn't say surprise, but is there still another candidate on the table? Now, a lot of conversation about Cliff Kingsbury saying, hey, I'm not doing anything until after our run either way.
Yeah.
But that opens the door as soon as Sunday night for him to start taking things. I think there's some feeling that he wants to maybe do what Ben Johnson did, stay with the organization, have another good year with Jaden Daniels, and then see what happens next cycle. Sure. Kingsbury doesn't do a lot for me. I'd be a little surprised at this. Like, why would you bring Kingsbury in if you've already got the Bradys of the world, the Ben Johnsons of the world in the mix, the Liam Cohens in the mix? Like, what's he bringing to the table different? The fact that he did it and failed?
I guess, yeah.
There was a lot of factors over there. And the fact that he's just actually made Jaden Daniels, that their offense is...
Okay, but you don't have Jaden Daniels. Like, Trevor Lawrence isn't even close to Jaden. Like, it's not even...
But
it's on a different stratosphere in terms of the style of player.
They also don't have Baker Mayfield. He's a different style of player.
Yeah.
I know it's even more of a stretch with Jaden Daniels.
But what it is, Brent, it's saying, look, I took a rookie quarterback, did this much with him. Imagine what I can do with him, a guy who has more experience like Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's going to be the argument. Like, look at how I had a resurgence of Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin was always a guy like, oh, yeah, I forgot he played in the NFL. And this year, it's like, well, look what I did with him.
Javon Baker.
Now imagine Brian Thomas Jr.
Javon Baker.
Who's that? Oh, yeah. How's he doing, Hammy? I forgot. Why'd you bring it up? Is he getting reps or is he getting run?
Not really.
Not really. That's all right.
He's still on the roster.
Yeah, build. Yeah, give him some time.
Yeah.
Next year.
I would just say this, like about Kingsbury, if anybody's looking at him, he's had Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels in the NFL. Those are specific style of players that can obviously move and scoot and use their legs and run, and they almost have to. I just stop there. They can throw it and they can do other things, but you're playing a certain style of football with those two guys that fit Kingsbury. It's not even that these guys can't do other things. It's more that it seems like it fits Kingsbury. So the concern that I would have is, Trevor Lawrence isn't going to do that. Or do they want him to run a little bit more? Right? Or do they want him to play more up-tempo? Now, that's interesting because a lot of people have mentioned that. Why aren't you playing a little bit more up-tempo? Play to the... Like, that's what Trevor likes to do anyway, right?
Yeah, but keep in mind, like, when Daniels got a little banged up, like, he wasn't running necessarily all the time. Like, he was more of this pocket passer.
Yeah, but you were concerned about him Sunday night against Tampa as much because of his legs as it was his arm.
Sure. Oh, of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm saying they've had success without him just being a dual threat guy. Kingsbury has. I'm not trying to like put up a big caveat, hire Cliff Kingsbury. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what separates. So why would you bring him in? Why would you need to add him to the list that you already have? Young, offensive mind, but you got like 4 of those in the mix, it seems like. Anyway, so just go with what you got, and why extend this thing even longer than it already is being extended? Hey, we got NBA Slam Poetry. You got a little bit of that?
I got a little bit of it.
And then we'll end with you guys have to put in, while you're doing that, I might put my submission in for the envelope game.
There we go.
I did bring the envelope.
There we go.
You have one too, and I'll give you a pen in a bit.
Okay.
You got a piece of paper you got to stuff in the envelope before the end of the show.
Ooh.
What just happened here?
There's that familiar sound. Yeah, what happened to our colors? Oh.
Wow.
That's cool.
I thought you were doing that on purpose.
No.
Oh.
I kind of want to, though, for the...
Real quick, Brent. Been following NBA at all? Not really.
No, I have.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm probably gonna drop some knowledge that people. I mean, okay.
Well,
I'll explain some of it.
You know, you showed me, by the way, the John Morant dunk that didn't count.
Yo, man.
I'll say that, man. Wembanyama, he is so smooth. I watched him shoot a 3 from the top of the key. That I was like, my goodness, it shouldn't look that smooth for a guy that big.
Yep.
It's wild to see. I also said this to you as we get ready for NBA Slam Poetry.
Yes.
James Harden is now 15th on the all-time scoring list.
Yes. Who cares, right? I know it's crazy.
No, I don't mean.
No, it's a different. Yeah.
But seriously, where do you put him in the context of greats?
Hold on, let me tell
am
the
I
band
just the
to
one
stop.
that doesn't?
We got NBA topics. I like it. No, like
because again, I'm a distant NBA guy, so
it's just the way that he put. I mean, it's very finesse driven. It's very get to the foul line or shoot 3-pointers driven. Yeah, I'm not the biggest James Harden guy. Plus, like a guy who kind of whined and complained and wanted his way, like how many times with different teams. So.
Well, here's who's around him, just so you guys know. Like, actively, LeBron's number 1. We know that. Kevin Durant's number 8. And Russell Westbrook is in the top 25. He's number 22. But my point is, even Westbrook, who's a great, in his own right, a very good player.
Yep.
Great is the most overused word in sports broadcasting because we would say Russell Westbrook is great. He's not great. He's very good. Like, very, very good. But I don't think he's great. And I would say the same about James Harden.
Yep.
But I want to make sure I'm just not like a get off my lawn guy here and saying, what do you mean? He's not better than Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins, 16th. 17th is Tim Duncan. These are the guys he passed by. Listen, Paul Pierce, I think he's very good. I don't ever thought Paul Pierce was like great. John Havlicek, by the way, Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter. Alex English. Like Alex English, very good player. I don't think people talk about greatness. He's in the top 25. And you've got Carmelo Anthony. Where's he? On the great list versus...
Well, I mean, scorer, like, not necessarily maybe a champion, not necessarily like the most dynamic all-around player, but in terms of just a pure scorer, Melo is definitely up there.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you think about the greatest players, and there's an interesting line that you draw on great versus good versus era versus this versus that. LeBron, you can make that case. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, people would say, yeah. Kobe Bryant, yeah. Michael Jordan, yeah. Wilt Chamberlain, like they'd put him in these kind of conversations, but there are just some names on this top 25 list that, like, just because you're in the top 25 doesn't mean like I'm gonna put you on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, and I don't know like how like in terms of respect for his peers, how people feel about Harden either. Like for instance, like Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady, people forget, and he's probably on the list. Tracy McGrady was that dog for a while. Kobe Bryant even said he was by far the hardest guy he ever had to guard. Was Tracy McGrady? Like. McGrady earned a lot of like he's almost like your favorite NBA's player, your favorite NBA's player. You know what I'm saying? But like I feel like Harden's the opposite. Like I feel like he doesn't get a lot of respect.
You know where McGrady falls for me, real quick?
What you got?
Is the Derrick Rose stuff.
What could have been?
Well, no, more because I think he's bigger in the. If you really like the NBA, like when Derrick Rose had his number retired, I was like, really?
Dude, he was the youngest guy to ever win MVP.
I get it. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Like that missed me in the NBA landscape in that time frame. And I think he was a guy that could have been great if obviously no injury. He was kind of like a pop culture player in many ways. Like the NBA fans loved him.
Yes.
And thought that what he could be. But really, like so much of it fizzled out. Like, I didn't even know he was playing the last few years.
Yeah. No, for real.
You know
You're
what I
not
mean?
wrong. Yep.
All right, NBA
All right, ready?
poetry it
Yep.
is.
Now that I needed to buy like 2 minutes to finish up my things, we made about 10 minutes, but it's all good. All right. Hammy, you got the buttons ready?
Yes, sir.
Vibe alerts are ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. NBA Slam Poetry. It's been a while, but your boy is back in town. Maybe I should have stayed gone. With the new style of non-stop three-point misses, this league's viewership, it's drastically down.
Yeah, it is. Big problem.
Huge problem. I'll be easy on the NBA, Brent. They have stars and are doing their best. But if you want to start up a new league, hit up LeBron's agent. That will be $5 million to invest. You see this?
I know, it's wild.
Yeah, gonna invest in a new league, I guess. $5 million, startup. Why?
Remember there was talk Tiger Woods was going to do that with golf years ago?
What about pickleball?
Never happened.
I guess I was right about that one, too. Wizards have only won 6. You shall pass. Are you guys even alive? Who knew Butler versus Riley would be the biggest fight of 2025?
I didn't see that one coming.
Man, do not cross Pat
Hold
Riley.
it firm, though, yeah.
Do not cross Pat Riley, Jimmy Butler. Like, I get you got that dog in you. It's Pat Riley.
Pat Riley will get in the cage with you.
Dude, Pat Riley, you don't want to mess with him. Shai has been the MVP so far. No need to take a vote. Shut down the polls. Cleveland was the top team until they played the Fighting Garth Brookses. Ladies and gentlemen, the Thunder rolls.
Oh, very nice.
Okay,
very nice.
Top
now
team.
You got me waking up.
Brent's, we got Brent's back.
That was a clap, too.
Brent, after writing down Nathaniel Hackett on the envelope, is back now. Oh! Ja Theo, Ja Real, not from this planet. He's from outer space. I hope Wemby doesn't have a peanut allergy because he got dunked on and has some nuts in his face. I had to say it. Hit the button. Beautiful morning. Peanut allergies. Nothing in the water.
How about Malarkey dropping a little...
That's why I said it today. I felt a little cocky. I'm like, if he's going to say something, I'm saying something today. All right, last but not least, Philly might be in the need of a reset. They keep losing. It's a sin. They are sad. They make no sense. Like an NFL coach basing his decision on which division he's going to play in. Hit it again!
It's unbelievable.
I don't lose. Dubs. Eating the dubs.
Hey, listen, this is why coaches
Got a
get
peanut
fired.
allergy.
This is why coaches get fired. They don't take
Peanut
everything
allergy.
into consideration.
All right, yeah, this has been another edition of NBA Slam Poetry. Thank you, man.
That's a good one.
Well, I wrote it like a minute
that?
ago.
Brent.
All right, Brent, we got it. Signed, sealed, delivered.
There you go. Put it
I'm
in.
gonna put
I'm
mine
not
in.
looking. I don't want to know. The envelope game, you got to get it in, like we're saying, by the end of the weekend. But what I'll do is I'll end up cutting it off. Like if I see the next step, if I start to see more, I'm just going to cut it off when I see the next phase going. All right.
You think I can see what Austin's writing from this?
Yeah, so don't put it on there. Yeah, we don't want everybody to know.
We'll be fine.
Tight shot, please. Actually, just
I can just wait till after the show. It's not
yeah,
a big
you
deal.
could. You
Okay,
could.
yeah.
You could. But so anyway, send it to sports@actionnewsjacks.com. And we know we're going to get multiple of the same winners, but hey, we got hats, we got shirts, and then we'll try to pick out a winner for a grand prize or something. I don't know how grand it is, but listen, you're not doing a lot of work for this. You're sending me an email with a name on it.
For sure.
That's it.
You're welcome.
Hamby, did you do yours?
Working on it.
I'm working on it. Doing research. I mean, we've been researching for the last 2 weeks.
I'm not doing no dadgum
Kirby
research.
Smart.
Next week, we have an actual box for the envelopes.
Someone said who's clinking dishes. That's part of the NBA Slam Poetry,
That's
man.
the music, man.
Welcome,
That's the
Bobby.
background music.
Welcome, Bobby.
Bobby's new.
Bobby's new. Welcome.
I mean, I've seen his name before.
Hopefully you enjoyed.
Yeah, it was great. All right, hope everybody has a good weekend. Monday we're out of here, unless again I always say it, but I mean it would be a stunner if the Jags are like, hey,
that'd be impressive.
Coach. Holy cow! Off one interview, I think I'd be concerned, but of Zoom, everything's done on Zoom these days. Sheesh. Robert Sala, the only in-person interview, he gets the job. He's hired Monday.
Sold. Come on down.
But we'll be back on Tuesday, obviously, for the rest of the week. Have a fun playoff weekend. We'll have you covered on CBS 47, Fox 30. Stuart Weber down in Daytona today, by the way, so we're getting closer and closer to the Daytona 500. He'll have the shows for you on CBS 47 and Fox 30, and we'll see you at UNF Arena tomorrow for some Ospreys basketball as well. Have a good one, everybody. And if you missed Mike Malarkey today in the 11 o'clock hour, you might want to listen to the podcast or go back and find it. It was good stuff.